The Fanatic at 97.5thefanatic.com.
Well, for the 23rd year in a row, we'll watch the Eastern Conference Finals start tonight, and the Sixers won't be in it. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to try to figure out how the Sixers can build the roster the right way. There's not a single answer to that, but maybe we'll come to terms with what the right way is. Because is it the way Boston has done it? Indiana has done it. Dallas, Minnesota, the teams in the Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals right now. We'll talk about that a lot today. Phillies begin a series with the Rangers tonight. We got some Eagles talk with Jeff McClain. A lot in store for you today on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
Stars in cities, especially like Philadelphia, they are always on the map, and we should expect more winning out of them.
And we'll go to the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. I am a believer that your best player, I think there is also a responsibility as the team spokesperson.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Tuesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man John Kincade. Johnny, good morning.
I love how you started it.
23 years, baby.
Eastern Conference Finals start tonight.
23
Not
years
here.
in a row, and I'm not watching the Sixers in the Eastern Conference Finals, which is very, very disappointing to me.
But you're used to it.
Yeah.
You're used to it, at least.
Well, John, I'll be honest, man. It doesn't get easier. Like, it gets harder and harder, especially because you have a good basketball team. The process here, so be it. Right, I wasn't expecting them to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Every single year over the last 5 or 6 seasons, I've expected them to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, or we've had the expectations or the finals or bust conversations. I've been doing this for 6 years now, and I'm watching the Indiana Pacers. Pacers!
You honestly went into this season thinking that today, if I took you back to last September, you went into the season thinking today we would be talking about the Sixers in the Eastern Conference Finals?
I did not. I took a different approach this season because
I remember.
Getting excited has not really panned out for me.
No, but in your heart of hearts, you didn't think this team was good enough.
But when you see a playoff road of Knicks and then Pacers or a banged-up Bucks team, you bet your ass when the playoffs start, I said,
absolutely.
This is their best chance. And what freaking sucks is, John, their best chance led to a loss in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Like, how crazy is that? Like, you did the Punk'd reference the other day.
Yes.
Ashton Kutcher. Sometimes I think I'm in the Truman Show. Christy's actually concerned about my well-being because I make that reference way too many times, and she thinks that I'm, like, hearing voices in my head, which maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe I'm having a mental breakdown. The Sixers caused it.
It could be just a lack of sleep.
The Sixers, well, yeah.
No, I mean,
come on, Coop.
The thing is, no. Here's where you're incorrect. The Sixers haven't caused it. You've caused it.
Dude, the Sixers.
Because you get on the horse every year, and you talk yourself into thinking, yep, it's going to be different. Or this has a real chance to be different. I thought they beat the Knicks.
They should have.
I thought they would be. They should have.
They should have beaten the New York Knicks.
But the one thing I know about the Sixers, when they should win, they don't.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again, they don't.
It's just unbelievable. Like, I'm still angry about two of their losses because of a lack of effort.
I don't blame
Seriously,
you.
because of a lack of effort. They lost 2 games in this series against the Knicks.
Yep.
And now I got to watch the Eastern Conference Finals start tonight between the Pacers and Celtics. And here's the thing. Over the years, I used to, like, turn off the playoffs after the Sixers lost. Like, I couldn't watch anymore. I've thoroughly enjoyed the playoffs.
Now, the thing is,
it's been so much fun this year.
Different than you, I tend to turn off the Eastern Conference.
Okay.
Because it would piss me off. And I watched parts of 5 games of that Knicks series. I didn't think it was good basketball. I didn't think it was entertaining.
It wasn't pretty, but it was entertaining.
2 of the games I watched was blowout. 2 of the games I watched were there were 3 blowouts in the 7 games. That's not a good series.
Yeah, I mean, the Western Conference playoff matchups were much better in terms of closeness in games, except for the one Minnesota game where they won by like 50.
And I can watch that without pain. I can watch the Western Conference without pain. I can watch the Western Conference with admiration for the great young talent. Watching the Eastern Conference, watching the Knicks series with the Pacers just pissed me off. So I stopped sort of like, I'd watch 15, 20 minutes at a time and then be like, I can't do it.
I normally stop. I kept watching for some reason. Maybe because I don't feel pain anymore, man. Like, I don't know. It's a simulation. Every single year, it's a simulation with this Sixers team where they're supposed to finally win. Oh, they finally have the path. Oh, they're the best player. Oh, they're the best roster. Blah, 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 blah. And every single year, they disappoint.
You
23 years in the making, Johnny.
You are getting a little, I can feel it. I feel your pain.
23 years in the making. So
Yes.
here's what we're going to do today. We talked about this yesterday. There's no Phillies game last night. So today's a nice day to focus on the Sixers a little bit. There's no Eagles news right now, and the Eastern Conference Finals start tonight. So it's fitting to talk a little Sixers basketball. And our question today, and this is something where I know you and I are going to differ, but hopefully we can find a middle ground at some point. What is the right way for the Sixers to build the roster going into next season? And I'm talking about this Sixers team. Now, there's so many different avenues you can go in. You can say, blow it up. Like, if somebody thinks that it's time to trade Joel Embiid and start fresh and build around Tyrese Maxey, get a lot of draft picks, get some other players out of the Joel Embiid trade, bring that to the table. Today is a day where I'm not going to yell and scream and say, you're crazy, you're stupid, how dare you think this? I can't do that anymore. Now, I will tell you, and I've talked about this a lot, I'm going to the end with Joel Embiid, right? Like, I'm not trading him. I'm not blowing it up. I'm not starting over. I am going to go until Joel Embiid can no longer move on a basketball court. I'm riding with Joel Embiid because he's so talented, and 1 year you hope that it finally clicks, where he stays healthy and there's not some nagging injury going into the playoffs or something that hampers him where he clearly looks slow in the second half or the second quarter, and then Paul Reed goes out there for 8 minutes and the other team goes on a 40-0 run, right? Like, I'm still hoping that one day that's going to happen.
You mean the president of the club will actually address backup center?
Right. Or maybe
a simple thing that a moron radio host saw as a glaring weakness. What are you doing? It's not a big deal. I got told by basketball voices I consider strong that were like, it's no big deal. Oh, Embiid's only missing a certain amount of games. That's the reason you lost the Knicks series. Period.
I wouldn't say period, but it's a big reason.
I mean, no, the way you were outscored in the tight games you lost.
Correct.
Yes, that's why you lost the series. You didn't do that. So to me, I have to trust. I hate using that word.
Oh, that's a question today.
I have to trust so many things. I don't know what I can trust. And I know I trust a hell of a lot less than you will trust. I'll trust a hell of a lot less. I don't trust that Joel Embiid season's ever coming.
Okay. I thought you meant
right there.
Daryl Morey stuff.
And I am not trashing Joel Embiid when I say it.
Right.
I am just saying to you, I understand people with your mindset completely, that you've got a guy here who has been he's an amazing talent.
He's the best player in the league at times.
But I do not trust at all that your vision of one of these years, it's all going to come together. We're hoping. You're hoping. It all comes together.
I can't say it's a vision. Like, I'm not guaranteeing anything.
I don't believe it's ever going to happen.
I just know it's going to happen the day he does get traded and he goes to a different team and then he plays healthy and I will lose my mind and never watch sports ever again.
You may be then at the
not just basketball. I wouldn't watch sports ever again if Joel Embiid got traded and stayed healthy.
You'd be sitting in the corner. You'd be sitting in the corner sucking your thumb.
I'd be done, man. So, question number one to start. It's 610-632-0975. Call in, text in. Of course, you can check it on social media and on email. What is the right way to build this Sixers roster? And I say this because I include Joel Embiid. Now, if you are ready to move on, hey, your call. I can't freak out anymore.
Would you criticize the person who feels that way?
I still think you'd be wrong in thinking that.
Okay, but that's
if
not
you
the
give me
question. Would you
I would not jump down their throat.
The person who's broken on this, you would understand.
Now, the reasoning would be important because Joel Embiid, like, if somebody says he never shows up for the playoffs, I would just point back to 2 weeks ago when
I would say
he did show up to the playoffs.
Then my listening ears go off.
Right. So
my listening ears go off.
I think the context of the phone call, like if a guy just calls in and goes, he's always out of shape, like, what? What are you like? What are you talking about?
He might have been in his best shape this year, potentially.
So, what is the right way to build the roster? And I'm going to get your answer on that in a second, and Connor's as well. But I want to play this first because we know what the Sixers are going to do in premise. Because Daryl Morey did speak a few weeks ago. It was Monday, May 6th. He had his end-of-the-season press conference. I want to play a couple of clips for you just to refresh your brain as to what Daryl Morey is going to do in premise. And, of course, he can't say too much during these press conferences. The playoffs are still going on, right? They're still going on today. But here he is talking about the offseason that he's excited for because that they are well situated when it goes into this offseason.
This offseason is a big one. I owe it to the fans, to ownership, to everybody to get this team in a place where we're competing for championships, and we obviously didn't achieve that this year. But again, we're very well situated to use all the tools, trade, free agency, draft, to upgrade the team. And, we're going to put every single effort into that. Coach Nurse is going to be right there with us. Besides our two great players, we think we have one of the best coaches in the league, and we're excited for the offseason.
Look, he knows the deal. Daryl Morey does. There's no more trading for James Harden's, right? Like, he's got the blank canvas. He's got Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and remember that day he had that press conference, he mentioned Ricky Council and Paul Reed. All right, he's got 4 guys.
And Ricky Council and Paul Reed are 2 of them.
Right. So he's got 2 guys.
He has 2 guys. Thank you very much.
He's got 2 guys. He's got Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and then he has to build this roster. The Daryl Morey's a genius conversation. We'll find it out. Like, this will be the offseason.
Who's still saying that? Who in the world is still saying that? And more importantly, what are you basing it on? What is it based on? The person who says that, what has he done that anybody would even utter those words or believe that? And by the way, I know it. I navigate these people. I've met them.
Yeah.
They do. There are people out there saying,
people
I'm
believe
like,
it.
what are you? Point to something tangible.
He has made some good trades. He has made some not so good trades.
What has it done?
Nothing.
What fruit has it bore?
Nothing.
Then you're not. You're not. If you're a general manager, that's great. If you're a president, that's great. You can go, hi, I'm Dave Dombrowski. Let me show you my resume.
Right.
Here is how my teams get to championships. Here is how my teams are knocking on the doors for rings. Oh, by the way, meet my friend Howie Roseman. Here's Howie Roseman. I could show you my resume.
Yeah.
Here's how I have my team constantly in contention. Here's what it is. Mentioning Daryl Morey is like anything in that discussion isn't fair to Daryl, by the way. And more importantly, it should never be mentioned.
No,
it sounds
it shouldn't
ignorant.
be.
It's ignorant.
Yes.
It's absolutely
That's why
ignorant.
I've said I believe he's an overrated basketball mind. And I don't want to say overrated harshly. Like,
No, you're not saying it harshly. You're saying it is.
The Al Horford trade was genius. The Josh Richardson trade was genius. But the running it back with the Houston Rockets in 2023 was not genius, right? Like there are things where Daryl Morey has done that I question at the time.
And looking back, when this is all done and the Joel Embiid career is over or his prime is over, there will be a question. Did Daryl Morey not pull the trigger on getting rid of him when they could have?
Right.
Will that be an issue? And I guarantee it'll be one of the biggest questions of his tenure.
It might be. And
whether that's fair or not, I understand you, and I lean more towards you.
Yeah, I would never trade
lean
him.
more see, I'm not there.
I would never trade
But I lean more towards you than I do the trade him crowd. But I think the trade him crowd is people who are just PTSD.
They're frustrated.
They're done.
Yeah,
No, they're just done.
Or they like a certain style of basketball.
That could be.
And during the show today, we're going to compare the Sixers to the teams remaining in the playoffs right now, the Final Four, Eastern Conference, Western Conference. And look, let's face it, they don't have the big as their best player. The Minnesota Timberwolves have Karl Anthony Towns, who's a hell of a talent.
But he's not their best player.
He only got better because Anthony Edwards got there. Exactly. Anthony Edwards is their best player. Nikola Jokic got eliminated, but Nikola Jokic is a stud. But Nikola Jokic has a totally different skill set where everything that he does is just magnificent. It's crazy. But look, we're going to compare the Sixers to those Final Four teams. So it might not just be frustration or people tired of Joel Embiid. They might say, hey, there's no way to win with a big as your number one guy, which is why I said yesterday, maybe you start ushering in Maxey as the Dwayne Wade Shaq situation in Miami a little bit sooner than I thought. Because that might be the way you need to win an NBA championship. So we'll get into that. But again, continuing the premise of Daryl Morey's offseason, we know that he's got the big canvas, right? He's excited for it.
I disagree, by the way, with his premise from the very beginning. We're well situated to do anything we want. I completely disagree with the premise.
I believe that they are. And
I do not believe he can build me. I don't think he can build me an 8-deep team, or even I don't believe he can build me a 7-deep team.
Okay,
with what they've got sitting in front of them. I tried to do it yesterday with that stupid trade calculator, too, and everything. My gosh.
We also know that he doesn't believe that the draft will be much of a help, at least the players. Maybe the pick could. Here he is talking about the draft.
Immediate help probably never comes in the draft. In fact, there's really only like something less than 10, but greater than 5 players, picked in the range we're picking in that are good in the first year. That said, we don't really focus on the draft for help now. I do really love 16. The storylines have been that the draft is worse. I don't see that at all. Actually, I'm very excited about who's at 16.
But he knows they're not an immediate factor, which they're not.
But hear what he says. These guys, there's only 5 or 10 guys taken in that range every year that can contribute immediately. He's all worried about my chips are in the center of the table. He's not. He doesn't want to build.
I don't.
He
think
doesn't
he
want to. He doesn't want to build. He could.
I don't.
He could. No, he could.
I don't think
if he made
can,
certain moves,
man.
he could.
He could.
But he doesn't.
Or
want
maybe
to
he
build.
could have 3 years ago and not. Not now. That's my biggest thing. I don't think with Joel Embiid's timeline you can try to do some big build now. Now, lastly, I know this is a big bugaboo for you that you don't like this one. The age not necessarily being a factor. Obviously, age is important, but he wants best player available. Here's the last clip from Daryl Morey that we're playing for you, and then we'll dive deeper into this conversation.
I think as long as players are playing at a high level, we're focused on Joel and Tyrese, and we're focused on now. You have to factor in age because I have to look at more than just one season. But the reality is similar to we put most of our focus on the team when Joel is available. We put most of our focus on the now versus the future with where Joel is in his prime.
Now, I think that's where you and I differ the most.
Okay.
I totally understand what he's saying. You have to think about now and not 3 or 4 or 5 years from now.
Okay.
Daryl Morey was not brought in here to rebuild, right? Daryl Morey was brought in here to try to put this team at a championship level. And has he done that? No, of course not. They haven't gotten out of the second round. They didn't get out of the first round this year. But Daryl Morey was brought in to try to win a championship, to push them to that next level. And now Daryl Morey realizes, okay, this is my cleanest slate that I've had. Remember, there were players carried over from previous regimes. He did not sign Tobias Harris to a max contract. There were players that he had to move on from right away. There were players that kind of lingered for a couple of years, like your Furkan Korkmaz's, probably because they were cheaper options. Those guys are all gone now. Now, he also made the mistake of trading an Isaiah Joe to the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was
a terrible mistake.
Ended up being a horrible move. But he now has his cleanest slate with 2 stars, which you never really see. You never see in the NBA a clean slate like this with 2 stars. Normally the clean slate is you're rebuilding from ground
Usually
zero.
1 star.
Right.
And maybe a spare part.
Right. There is 2 stars here, 2 legitimate pieces that you get to build around, which is why I completely agree with his notion of, look, I got to get best player available now because I need to win now.
Imagine if he had just done things differently when his lifelong obsession with James Harden.
Yeah. It could have changed everything, John. You're right.
If he had not been obsessed with James Harden, this slate could look completely different. Oh, but by the way, one of the guys who's playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, who's busy tonight, could have been here.
Yep, and we're going to talk about that because
instead of James Harden.
Keith Pompey was on with Kevin Cooney last night and talked a little bit about that specific player. But here's what we want to start off today. At 610-632-0975, we're going to allow you to play armchair GM or armchair president of basketball operations because that's what Daryl Morey is. What is the right way to build this Sixers roster? To me, it remains with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. I don't care about age as long as they fit. The Paul George thing still freaks me out because of his injury history. You
Absolutely.
know how I feel about LeBron James. If I could bring in LeBron James, I'd do that in a heartbeat. But I do think there are specific ways to build this team. I think it's got to be wings. I think it's got to be guys that could shoot. You need a legitimate backup center. I don't want Paul Reed on this team anymore, but it looks like that's going to happen. I would like a point guard to play alongside Tyrese Maxey. That's just not 39-year-old Kyle Lowry, with all due respect.
Oh, but
right?
age doesn't matter.
Well, it depends.
If
It depends.
He's not watching the NBA playoffs when he says the age doesn't matter.
It depends. Like if the guy's 34 but is still
But he
playing at a
doesn't.
high level, then the guy's 34. It's just Kyle Lowry was kind of a midseason acquisition. So what is the right way to build this roster? We allow you to play Armchair GM today. You can text in and call in at 610-632-0975. But John kind of alluded to it. The Sixers could have already had their answer.
Yep. One of them. No, like one of the components.
And we heard that something was off the table. Well, now the question is, was it actually off the table? Keith Pompey yesterday on with Kevin Cooney talked about the Sixers and their interest years ago in Tyrese Haliburton. We play that clip for you coming up next. Tyrese Haliburton of the Indiana Pacers, who plays in the Eastern Conference Finals tonight. 23 years in the running, ladies and gentlemen. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phillies. Kincade and Salciunas. Happy Tuesday morning. Happy start of the Eastern Conference Finals. 30 years in the making, John.
I'll tell you, you just had this sound about you today, and I laughed about it earlier. You're making me laugh because when you say it, it makes me laugh. It's the uncomfortable laugh, though. It's my funeral laugh.
I do the whole. Let me think about my life over 23 years. Right?
Right. What you've invested.
I was 7.
What you've gotten out of it.
I was 7. I wasn't even in middle school yet, John, and then high school, and then college, and then marriage, and then child, and the Sixers are still not out of the second round. I did this with the Phillies. When the Phillies had the 10-year playoff drought, I went down memory lane. I thought 10 years was bad. Holy hell, 23. At least the Sixers made the playoffs. 10 years of a playoff drought's even worse.
In baseball,
it's horrible.
In baseball, it's horrible. It's painful.
It's an entire summer of nothing.
And you just say to yourself, come on.
Right. So,
I deserve better than this.
So the Eastern Conference Finals begin tonight. So what we want to do today with you, we want to play Armchair GM with all of you on the phone line, text line 610-632-0975. What is the right way to build this roster? I'm telling you right now, I am not blowing it up. I am sticking with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and I'm building around them. But I have different wants and needs than John Kincade because I don't care about age. I care about talent. And yes, do I star Hunt? Yes, I do when it comes to that kind of conversation. But it has to make sense. Like, they have to fit. It has to be like Paul George. I've said this a million times to you, John. I don't want him, but he is a fit. He does fit perfectly. He's a guy that can catch and shoot. He's a guy that can help out Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. He's a guy that can be the number 1 option on certain nights, the number 2 option on certain nights, the number 3 option on certain nights. He's actually a great fit from a basketball standpoint. But then you get concerned about Joel Embiid plays 50 games in a season, and so does Paul George.
I would just tell you I do not believe he's a perfect fit because I believe saying he's a perfect fit means you have to assume health.
Right.
I do not
That's
assume
why I
health.
say from a basketball standpoint.
From a skill set, I got you.
Right.
I do not believe he is. I think he'd be yet another wrong turn on the road that has tortured you for 23 years and has tortured the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I remember the Sixers parade. I remember that parade. I remember thinking, wow, this is going to be a franchise that is going to reward me over and over again.
Right.
And when they got Barkley, I thought for sure they'd do something with Barkley.
Yeah.
And then
it
just hasn't.
And it's been one thing after another with this franchise, unfortunately. And here's the thing. They are still always in the conversation. At least with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, you will always be in the conversation.
They're the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA. I don't deny it. They get all the talk and all the chatter, and a lot of the times the fan base gets chesty, and they produce nothing.
I don't deny
nothing
that.
For it.
I've heard that been said multiple times on the radio. I've seen it on social media,
Cowboys,
and I can't deny it. And that freaking sucks, man. That is painful to me, which is why I have this weird psychotic attitude today where I'm laughing but also trying to hold in the tears and the outrage and the anger. I had to listen to freaking fire alarms for 45 minutes today.
Oh, that was terrible.
It's not as bad as watching the Sixers.
By the way, thanks a lot for that. I mean, that was like that's Guantanamo.
Yeah, it was. Like bad.
Got to make sure we're safe, boys.
Oh my gosh!
And my ears aren't safe.
What about the gentleman?
What about that?
And with all due respect, the gentleman who walked through, like I guess doing the inspection of the building during the thing, he literally just walks through and looks at us as it's going woo, woo.
Well, he's got to make sure they're flashing, man.
And he's like, there it is.
He's got to make sure. He's got to make sure they're all flashing.
He wasn't worried about our welfare. I can tell you that.
All right, so. We played you a couple of Daryl Morey clips about what they're going to be doing this offseason, the premise of what they're going to be doing this offseason. Well, you could make the case
I like the premise. I like that. You say the premise.
You could make the case that things could have been done differently in the past, and that's any team. Any team, things could have been done differently in the past. But one of the things that's been talked about, but we don't really know the true story, was the Tyrese Haliburton situation when he was with the Sacramento Kings. This is before he goes to Indiana. There was talks that the Sixers were going to try to trade for him, and then I saw
During that summer,
right. And then during the regular season as well, the trade never happens. Remember, he goes to Indiana. The Pacers traded Domantas Sabonis to Sacramento. Not that I cared that much about that trade. But there was a lot going on where you go, all right, so were they in on him or not? Tyrese Haliburton was on a podcast. He said that he thought he was going to get traded to the Sixers. Then his agent called him and said it was never happening, even though he thought it was going to happen.
Woj has said on different episodes of his podcast that Haliburton was on the table.
Right.
Whether a trade was, he's never said a trade was there.
Right.
But Tyrese Haliburton to the Sixers was on the table.
So yesterday, Keith Pompey was on with our Kevin Cooney at Fanatic at Night yesterday, and he talked about Tyrese Haliburton.
Yeah, man. A lot of people would say no. After the fact, but he was. It was one of those things where, a lot of people forget it was, a holdup, and I don't think that the Sixers ever really. I think the Sixers knew that they were going to get James Harden because, remember back then, a lot of people kept saying the Sixers kept pushing the goalpost back. Whenever, someone would come to them and they would make an offer, the Sixers would ask for something more.
So it looked like they were going to try to get Tyrese Haliburton.
They were.
And then
instead,
it was always James Harden.
it was the James Harden obsession by Daryl Morey. The obsession with James Harden. A guy who, not 20/20 hindsight on my part, I knew who he was, and I know nothing compared to Daryl Morey.
Mm-hmm.
His obsession with that. Tyrese Haliburton, you think he'd look pretty good on this team right now? What if this summer Daryl Morey had the resources available to him that he does have, the sort of clean slate, and he had Maxey, Haliburton,
Would have been nice.
and Embiid? And by the way, they're playing tonight.
Yeah, they're in the Eastern Conference
If Haliburton
Finals.
was here, they're playing tonight.
Yeah.
They're in the Eastern Conference Finals, and this angst is off your shoulders and off the collective shoulders of the Philadelphia fan base.
So question number one today
Ridiculous.
is what is the right way to build this roster? And we'll get to some texts because I know texts have already come in. So what is the right way to build this Sixers roster? But question number two, do you have faith in Daryl Morey to do it? So I will remind you, I think Daryl Morey is a bright man.
I do too.
And I think Daryl Morey, the second the Sixers fire him, will get a job somewhere else. Like what we say about Howie Roseman, the second he gets fired, I do believe Daryl Morey gets hired by another NBA team as long as Adam Silver allows it because there's still that weird relationship between Adam Silver and Daryl Morey, right? I think he still gets a job. I think he's an NBA lifer. I think he is a bright mind. I do also believe he's overrated. Like I've said this numerous times. I did an entire show last summer. I did an entire show on all the moves Daryl Morey has made in his career. There's a couple of great ones. There's a lot of moves that just didn't pan out. And I'm reading these and I'm going, man, he thought this was a good move at the time.
Or moves that he wouldn't make.
Or moves that he wouldn't make.
Move. You're talking about a guy who, since he didn't trade for him, in the 2 complete seasons, the man has been an all-star.
Right.
And but it was the obsession with James Harden. I think he has tunnel vision, and I never think he wants to build.
And
he doesn't want to build.
I think that's another one. I think he also may have had the mindset of, all right, Tyrese Haliburton is not going to help us win right now. James Harden puts us in a better chance to win right now. That's probably what his mindset was.
2 years ago, 2 years ago summer, so even more than that. He said, no, I'm holding on to Ben Simmons. I'm going to hold on to this. Even though I could pawn him off on people, I'm going to hold on because James Harden's going to be the missing piece. Tyrese Haliburton was the stock. He wasn't willing to build when Embiid was 28.
Right.
He wasn't willing to build around him. It was, got to win now, got to win now, got to win now.
Well,
It's that obsession with that.
you have to think about where we were mentally with Joel Embiid even at that point. Did we see him taking another giant leap and then another one after that? Or did we feel like the window's closing? Because I guarantee I can go back and find a lot of people who thought that window was closing quickly.
A lot of people, not me.
I don't think the
I'm not-
window was closing on Embiid's talent.
Well,
Maybe people were fatigued with the constant injury.
it's never the talent. It's the injuries. But-
Right. And you still had it this year.
Right.
Even though he played tremendously in the playoffs, you're watching him every second. You're going, oh, man, he's grabbing
Here
at the
he is.
knee.
He's grabbing the knees.
And-
He's limping off.
And so
like
that
he's-
hasn't gone away. And that's why in the first segment I said, look, if your plan is to trade Joel Embiid, I don't agree with you, but I can't. It's 5 years ago, younger Chunas, pre-fatherhood, I would freak out. You're an idiot. Don't call this station ever again. I've matured.
Have you?
I've also gone through a lot of pain with Joel Embiid, just like all of you, that I can't blame anyone who has that mindset.
This
I really
is-
can't.
One thing I will tell you is the Daryl Morey administration has been a wasted opportunity to build around Joel Embiid. Period.
Depends on how you look at it.
Period. They've decided.
Depends on how you look at it.
He always, with Daryl Morey's style of GM, the building is always on fire. Everything's got to get done today. This is the time that we got to win right now.
Except during the regular season when he says, I'm going to keep building my team during the regular season.
When he just decides, backup center, we don't need one. Or he keeps trying to convince himself that Paul George is the answer. I mean, that Paul George, a guy, and that seems to be, again, if you watch Malik Andrews' show, the number one name that keeps...
Oh, it's Paul George, yeah.
Paul George and Daryl Morey come up in conversation all the time. Is, to me, I'm looking at him and going, the Paul George obsession, the Paul Reed obsession. I don't understand it.
Loves Pauls, man. He loves Pauls. He's a big Paul guy.
Likes Paul Blake from here on our office.
All right, what do we have on the text line, Connor, from our initial question about the right way to building the Sixers roster? Because it's a big offseason.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of people checking in with a bunch of different things because there's no easy way to do this.
Sure.
But our first text is Joe from Levittown.
What's up, Joe?
Fitting this is the first text today. Time for a trade, fellas. Blank canvas with only Maxey.
I don't. I absolutely understand what he's thinking.
I disagree, but I don't blame him.
And I also understand it because of the fact that he's looking at the Final Four in the NBA playoffs, which we'll be doing today.
Yeah.
He's looking at those teams and going, how are you going to build this in one offseason? I'll give you the spoiler alert. You're not.
Well, it's not just
You're not.
It's not just building in one offseason. It's whether or not you yourself believe that you can win where the big man is the focal point of your offense. That's the big, and that's a hard question for myself to think about. That's why I keep on leaning toward maybe you start giving Maxey a little bit more.
See, I don't mind your theory there.
Like, I think I think you could still win a championship with Joel Embiid. All right, like I do. But maybe you need the other guy to step up a little bit more.
You're asking, I'll tell you this. The two jumps that Maxey has made the last 2 years are every bit as impressive as any jump that Joel Embiid has made in his game.
Yeah.
You're asking another big jump?
Maybe, John.
I mean, look, it's in 1 year, I don't know.
We'll continue this conversation. So answer the second question as well on the text line, the phone line. Do you have faith in Daryl Morey to do it? That's a big freaking question. Do you have the faith in Daryl Morey to do it?
I'd like to know why you have the faith.
It's Kincade and Salciunas right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
If you're a coach, it doesn't matter at all.
Salciunas, right here on 97.5 The Fanatic, talking a lot of Sixers today. We are going to get into the Phillies later on in the show as they begin a series with the Rangers tonight. The defending World Series champion Texas Rangers, the team that you should have taken on in the World Series last year had you not, peed away Game 6 and Game 7 and multiple series leads against the Arizona Diamondbacks.
No, you actually have to step up to the urinal and pee.
Yeah.
They couldn't even, muster a flow.
Dude, that was
in Game 6 and Game 7. That was so freaking terrible.
I still can't believe it. They should have played the Rangers.
I swear to you.
And they should have, and they could have beaten the Rangers, but
I was heading towards, at that time, the end of my chemotherapy.
yeah.
And I swear to you, there were times where I would wake up and I was having very bad brain fog.
I can imagine, yeah.
And I would wake up like the next morning and think that hadn't happened. Like going, wait a minute, that did happen. And I would go through like things going, are you kidding me?
That the Phillies
That's how
lost
bad it was.
the Diamondbacks. It was horrible.
It was terrible.
So the what could have been World Series rematch tonight, Phillies between the Rangers, 3-game series.
Could have been.
So we'll talk about that. We got some Eagles stuff as well. Jeff McClain's going to be joining us coming up at 8:10. I have an Eagles question that we'll get into later on the show, but we're focusing to start on the Sixers because tonight's the start of the Eastern Conference Finals, 23 years in the making since the Sixers were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I'm trying to find out what is the right way to build this roster. Our first texter said to do it with Tyrese Maxey and nobody else, so that means Joe. It was Joe, right? That was the first texter. Joe wanted to trade Joel Embiid and start fresh. Before we get back to the text, I haven't really gotten your answers. So what is the right way? It's because I already know your answers. But, John,
do you know?
Well, we've talked about it.
We've talked about it a lot.
I just don't agree
but I mean, as far as you don't agree, and it's fine. It's fine. We don't agree on it. It's the
because the other day you texted us about Donovan Mitchell, right? Like, I want to know, like, what
is that? Because I'm going. Well, look, I'm living in the reality of Daryl Morey, so I know that Daryl Morey is going to be gotta win, gotta win, gotta win, gotta win. Can't build, can't build, can't build.
Right.
So I have to live in the reality of what about Donovan Mitchell? We going to talk about Donovan Mitchell? Is he somebody worth talking about? Because I know that Daryl Morey is adverse to actually saying, let's build something that has foundation.
But how would you build it? And I want you to answer that question. How would you build it? Because I don't think you can build at this point with Joel Embiid. It's great that Embiid wants continuity. I'm sorry, brother. I don't think you're going to get it at this point.
I know that he's looking for it. The only thing is he's not going to find it here. And Daryl Morey had the opportunity when he first arrived here to be able to build something that was continuity, did have some grounding, did have like a firm foundation, and he passed. He passed on it. Daryl's the guy who I always talk about. I have my envelope system for Vegas.
Yes,
and I put every day, I have my certain amount of money I'm going to gamble with and everything. Daryl's going to the ATM. And Daryl's sitting at the first table.
What would you do different now? It's great. You're right. He should have done stuff differently 5 years ago.
What I would do now is, because of the bed that he made, I now have to try to win with what Joel Embiid is on this short timeline. But this is a creation of his planning, of his doing. So I think you need to try to build around Joel Embiid and Maxey right now. And I do not want it to be with another player that has major injury issues. Can't be that.
And that's fair.
Cannot be that. And by the way, can't get older. Can't just keep getting older all the time.
All right, Connor, what would you do? Armchair GM. And then the second question is, do you have faith in Daryl Morey to do it?
Yeah, the faith thing is going to be really tough. But
it's tough.
There's only one way to do this, right? Well, there's two options, and I'm not moving Joel Embiid. But if you don't think that the Sixers going out and getting like Paul George is the right option, or if you don't think them going out and getting one of these big brand name guys is the right option, trade Joel Embiid tomorrow. That's the only other way to handle it. Because if you do the building thing, these guys that you're getting, the young players, are not going to make an impact enough on a championship level for the next 2 or 3 years. That's just reality in the NBA. And by that point, guess who's not going to be in his prime anymore?
Joel Embiid.
So move him at high value to get stuff to start this rebuild. That's the only way to do the building young players, and it will be without the best basketball player on planet Earth right now, in my opinion.
All right, let me ask you. Paul George or trade Embiid?
I'd go Paul George.
Okay, I would too.
Yeah, so that's it.
Because I don't want to trade.
the ending of
Because I
this
don't want to
movie,
trade
right?
Joel Embiid.
You have to go get mercenary veteran players that you believe are going to have a great season and be healthy, and you have to take a gamble.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going down with the ship of Joel Embiid, so I might as well do all these other
Well, I
moves.
mean, this is the creation of Daryl Morey. This is what Daryl Morey's, what he didn't do years ago, what he wasn't willing to do years ago.
But I also
set
don't
you up
blame
now
him.
for doing it.
I don't blame.
I got
like,
you.
Look,
I do.
If he had Tyrese Haliburton, that's a totally different conversation, right?
If you had 3 All-Stars this offseason, and you could have had 3 All-Stars on this roster, by the way, we win the Knicks series.
They didn't.
So we're playing tonight.
They didn't think they had the time. And we didn't really believe they had the time either at that point.
Right,
with
like the
Embiid's
James
health.
Harden trade was, we need this immediate player. And look, I've talked to you about it. I would have had him back this year if his head was on straight, which never really seems to be. But they were tremendous last year. The two of them, Harden and Embiid. You know how many times we talked about it, Maxey and Embiid being the best duo in the NBA this year?
For stretches, they were incredible.
Last year, they were the best duo in the NBA.
For stretches, they were incredible.
And they were 5 minutes away from winning a playoff series in the second round.
How many times has James Harden said that in his resume?
Exactly. And then it fell apart.
And then he turtles.
Yes,
he turtles every
I know.
freaking time.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's just it's amazing. So I don't blame him for making the move when he did a couple years ago, and I don't blame him for not rebuilding because to Connor's point, you never knew when the end was coming with Joel Embiid. I still don't know when the end is coming. It could be next year. How do I know?
Then we're going to feel even more stupid if they do go and get Paul George. Get another guy who's who's on the decline and who's banged up constantly.
All right, we get to your reaction coming up next. More of your reaction. Text in or call in 610-632-0975. The 2 questions that we're asking for you to answer. How should the Sixers build this roster? What is the right way to build this roster? That's question number 1. Question number 2, do you have the faith in Daryl Morey to do it? I'm also going to play you some audio. The other day, we played you Tim Kirkchin talking about the Phillies being the best team in the National League. How about another bright baseball mind saying something similar? We play that coming up next in the 7 o'clock hour as well. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Ranger faces the Rangers.
Talking a lot of Sixers basketball today, as tonight is the beginning of the Eastern Conference Finals. 23 years in the making.
You all right?
It would be, you know what I would like, John? How much longer do you think I have doing this radio thing?
Oh, I think you had a long time going.
Will I talk about the Sixers in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yes. Sometime.
At some point in my career.
Sometime. You will.
Okay.
It's bound to happen.
Will Cooper be in high school?
Well, I mean, it's like it's what I
That's
would
16 years. No, that's 12 years from now. Will Cooper be in high school?
Yeah, you'll talk about. No, because again, the Indiana Pacers are in tonight. The Atlanta Hawks have been in the conference finals 2 times in the last 10 years. It's abysmal that the Sixers have not been there.
It really is.
You'll get there. You'll get there.
It's gonna be once all this is blown up. Hey, they're gonna get to the Eastern Conference Finals when Embiid and Maxey are gone.
You know that? No, I don't think
it's gonna be something
I don't think
ridiculous.
it's necessarily when Embiid and Maxey are gone. I think if you're talking about it, it is the idea of that this team. It might be when just Embiid's gone. And I guarantee you, we are going to look back and say the missed opportunities of various administrations are just huge.
Yeah, and then
absolutely huge.
I remember listening to a podcast. I think it was right when Embiid got hurt. I think it was Kevin Pelton and Zach Lowe. They do NBA stuff for ESPN. And they got into this conversation of how Joel Embiid is the biggest what if in NBA history. Because of all the injuries. Like, what if he stayed healthy? What if he wasn't from the process and Ben Simmons was the other piece that was supposed to play with him, grow with him, become a champion with him? He, of course, then went bananas and stopped caring about basketball and cared more about the Met Gala. His other supporting cast was Markelle Fultz forgetting how to shoot. And that goes also to your point about the organization, the different regimes making poor decisions in roster construction. So between health, roster construction, you name it, Jimmy Butler, right? Joel Embiid, the biggest what if in NBA history.
It could very well be.
And sucks because he's ours.
As far as the great player that he is.
Yeah, because he is a great player.
No, he's a
if
great
anybody
player.
says he stinks, then you're just a lunatic.
And again, that is where I would just say is that's where I can hear a lot of different arguments today, and we may, from people that decide to share their thoughts. The one thing I can hear is that he's soft. He doesn't.
Right. All that's not true.
That's where my listening ears go off.
So we'll get to those thoughts. Let's go to the text line. You can call in or text in 610-632-0975. Our 2 topics to start where we want you to react. Question number 1, what is the right way to build this roster? I believe it's still with Embiid and Maxey. I think you need to bring in somebody who is going to be a max contract player, specifically somebody on the wing. I want a point guard. Right? I love Tyrese Maxey. I want Tyrese Maxey to not always have to have the ball in his hand because I think he can do a lot of other things as well. I would like a veteran point guard, maybe not Kyle Lowry, but a guy that can run the offense and can do some things to let Tyrese Maxey be free with the basketball not in his hands at times as well. I want him to be able to push it up court. You name it. What is the right way to build this roster? And then do you have the faith in Daryl Morey to do it? That's question number 2. And the reason why I have that question, before we get to the text line, Connor, let's play the Keith Pompey cut on Tyrese Haliburton again. The reason why I even asked that question, do you have the faith in Daryl Morey to do it, stems off of Keith Pompey last night with Kevin Cooney talking about the Sixers and how they definitely could have traded for Tyrese Haliburton years ago.
Yeah, man. A lot of people would say no. After the fact, but he was. It was one of those things where, a lot of people forget it was, a hold-up, and I don't think that the Sixers ever really – I think the Sixers knew that they were going to get James Harden because, remember back then, a lot of people kept saying the Sixers kept pushing the goalpost back. Whenever, someone would come to them and they would make an offer, the Sixers would ask for something more.
And that is another issue with Daryl Morey. And I get, look, you want to get the most that you can, but the Ben Simmons situation, he wasn't playing.
Yeah, but that wasn't it. It wasn't that he was trying to get the most that he could. It's because he was locked on one person, and that's the one person he wanted, and he wasn't willing to think about anything else. Keith just told you.
You got to put your personal bias aside on James Harden. He was the best player you could have got.
He was the best player.
I would tell you right now, would you be better off with the vision wasn't there? Would you be better off right now as a franchise with a guy who, again, from the time he could have acquired him The guy now in his 2 complete seasons is an all-star.
Who was Tyrese Haliburton then?
Yeah.
Then there's no vision. You're not looking because his vision was,
Did
gotta
anyone
win
have the
now.
vision?
I
Are we
think
going
a
to
lot-
blame him for doing something nobody else saw?
No, I think a lot of people saw something in Haliburton. I think Maxi's more than people saw.
I agree.
Okay, so somebody had the vision on Tyrese Maxey to say, I like that. He's better. 21 teams passed on Tyrese Maxey. I don't want to hear that, well, other teams didn't get Haliburton. It's ridiculous. The guy is an all-star caliber player, and he's an all-star 2 years in a row. He'll be an all-star next year, too. And he's now in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes, he is.
Because
but at the time,
you were hell-bent on it's one answer. It's got to be Harden. Can't be anybody but Harden. And they were
and
very
John,
tied
I will
at the
say
hip.
that the answer at the time did make sense.
No, it absolutely.
And then you were 5 minutes away from.
I don't want to hear about the 5 minutes.
You were 5 minutes away from the Eastern Conference
I can't hear
Finals.
this 5 minutes crap anymore.
What, is it wrong?
No.
You were 5 minutes away from the Eastern Conference Finals.
Because it is pathetic.
Yes, it is.
That's what any other fan base that's we were 5 minutes away from.
It is pathetic, but we were 5 minutes away. Like the move, the move was this close to working, Johnny.
And that
close.
might be the worst talking point I've ever heard. We were 5 minutes away. How about the Game 7?
Yeah, it was
When you had a
horrible,
chance.
John. It was horrible.
And the team that you built didn't even bother showing up.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Didn't even bother. And that guy that you had to have
it was horrible.
let you down.
And
By
that's
the way,
why he's not here anymore.
Game 1 and Game 5, he was freaking spectacular.
Yes.
No,
the only reason
he
why
was
you had
outrageous.
Game 6 and 7 is because
he was
of him.
Outrageous in Game 1
The
and
only
Game
reason
5.
why you had a Game 6 and 7 was because of James Harden, and it didn't freaking work out, and that's why it's 23 years in the making now.
It's amazing.
All right, what do we have on the text line, Connor?
A bunch of stuff.
Okay.
So, first off, we got a text here. This is a first-time texter checking in saying, what I've been asking the Sixers to do in Embiid's entire career is to get him a legitimate stretch 4. The best he's had is arguably Ersan Ilyasova. Dario Saric was held back by Ben Simmons. Tobias was who we thought he was. P.J. Tucker stunk, and Batum gave you the best he could as a 40-year-old. Go get Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah, but we just throw Lauri Markkanen out there as if that's gonna happen.
We're going to hear a lot of Lauri Markkanen today.
What are you going to give? What are they giving up to get Markkanen?
A lot of
and
picks.
More
It
importantly,
would have to be a lot of picks.
And more importantly, if Markkanen was actually on the market, which, by the way, they say he's not, if he was on the market, do you not think somebody has more to give them?
They could.
No, what do you mean you could?
Or maybe the Sixers are more desperate to give up multiple first-round picks for Lauri Markkanen.
I don't know.
I think he's a nice basketball player.
So do I.
And I think he's a great fit with Joel Embiid.
Okay, John, let me ask you this.
Okay.
So you want to build with a younger player.
Yes.
Longer term. He's a 24 or 25-year-old all-star. We're looking at guys like that. Would you significantly overpay for a player like that?
I would absolutely consider it. If I thought it was real, which I do not believe it's real, if I thought it was real, the marketing stuff,
Well,
I would absolutely think about players like that.
Well, Mikal Bridges could be real. The point is you're
Could
going
be
to have
real.
to pay significally more than their value if you want to build that way.
And I don't believe Mikal Bridges is a transformational type player that's going to lead you to a
I
championship.
completely disagree with you.
One of three?
I could not. I
Is he one of two?
completely disagree
That might
with
be
you.
the wrongest thing ever.
Maxey and Bridges is going to win you a title.
With Embiid.
No, well, you got the thing is you're going to have that window of Embiid is fine. I do not believe that Maxey, Bridges, and Embiid wins you a title.
I think you have a
it doesn't
great
get you.
chance.
Are you playing tonight?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
You're playing tonight.
Yes.
You are
You're in the Eastern Conference Finals.
No, you're absolutely. If Bridges was on the Sixers, you're absolutely playing tonight.
I have a crazy take for you.
Okay.
If they didn't trade him, they would probably have been in the finals by this point. If they never traded him.
I don't think you're. I'm not going to argue that that's wrong.
Because he fit, I've said this a million times, every iteration of a Sixers team, Mikal Bridges fit. Because he is a legitimate 3-and-D, not one of these fake Robert Covington, Matisse Thybulle 3-and-Ds. He's a legitimate 3-and-D player that can also do a million other things.
I think you
like,
are.
He's not just 3-and-D. Like, calling him a 3-and-D player is actually disrespectful to Mikal Bridges.
I'm going to tell you that I do not think that statement is false. I think no lies are detected.
They would have been in the finals by now.
And if they had traded for Haliburton, they very well may have been just 2 years ago. They very well may have been in the finals.
I don't know if they would have been last year, but they would have been in this year.
Whoa. I don't think they lose that series to Boston.
If you replace James Harden with Tyrese Haliburton
I don't
last
think
year?
you necessarily lose
So you're
that
telling
series.
me Tyrese Haliburton's going to go
He's
get
dropping
50 last
50.
year
Well,
on
no,
Boston
no,
on the road
It's
without
a
Embiid?
It's a totally different series.
Well, it's not, because game one you don't have Embiid, and Tyrese Haliburton is going to have to go out there and get you 50
you
for
do
you to
not-
win that.
James Harden won them the game.
the
game one.
likelihood, I think he won him Game 5 too.
Yeah.
I mean, his performance in Game 5.
James Harden
was
is the reason
ridiculous.
why you had a 6/7 game series with the Boston Celtics last year.
And
I don't know if Tyrese Haliburton does that for you.
I
I
got
really
you.
don't. And I think this year's totally like this year they would be in the Eastern Conference Finals with Tyrese Haliburton.
No question.
If you never traded Mikal Bridges, you would have already been in the NBA Finals.
I do not. I would believe that you are most likely correct on that one. And I
Zaire.
absolutely believe you win that series. You win this year's series. You win last year's series. If Mikal Bridges was here.
Yeah,
But I am
probably.
not. First of all, again, if Bridges was available, if it's true, he's available. Why do people think that the Sixers have more to be able to get him than
They could be
other
more
teams?
desperate to give up more picks. I mean, that's what it comes. It's going to come down to picks because they don't have players unless they do a sign and trade with somebody. They don't have the players. So Mikal Bridges will be a third piece.
So in other words, you're not going to be able to build a 7 or 8 team deep that you need. If you're watching the NBA playoffs, it's 7, 8 guys that are necessary to be even welcome into the party.
Draft picks isn't necessarily your 7, 8 deep.
No, I got you.
If you have Embiid, Maxey, and Mikal Bridges, yeah, you're going to get some vets that are going to come in that are probably going to sign a 1-year deal. That you're going to get the vet minimum. You're going to get the
What, you're gonna
the
get, like, 38
you're gonna get the
8-year-old guys against
mid-level
37-year-old
exception.
guys?
You might.
You're not.
You might,
You're
John.
not. I don't think you're winning. I don't think that is going to get you there. I don't. I just don't. I think it's an old. If you, the Sixers don't resemble Daryl Morey's vision of the NBA. Doesn't resemble the teams that are in still playing.
I don't
today.
think Daryl Morey has like some obsession with old players.
I do.
I think he has.
I do.
I think he believes that he needs a star to win with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey.
No, I believe he is absolutely like. He would absolutely.
Then why does he want Paul Reed and Ricky Council to stay? Like, there are young players that he wants to keep around. I'm sure he's going to sign a young player at
I
some
don't know
point this
why. If you
offseason.
can explain the Paul Reed to me,
I can't. I don't like Paul
No,
Reed.
what I'm saying is that is what you're asking. Do
But
I
that's
trust,
a young player.
Do I trust the? Yeah, but you can't use that on me. You can't use that on me because every one of us is saying, "What does he see in this guy?" So you're saying, do you trust Daryl Morey? No, I don't.
Well, also-
because he's going to tell me that Paul Reed was his answer to back up Joel Embiid. And there's a very big reason we're not seeing this team didn't go to the next round is because of the fact that was totally, absolutely ignored.
We're all on the same page there.
Correct,
It's also
yes.
a big reason that he was saddled with a max contract spot that was literally unusable. Like, I'm willing to call Tobias Harris unusable
I
in
agree.
a playoff series.
I think that's
So-
Tobias the
anyone's
friendly
argument.
ghost. Guy just freaking
But
disappeared.
I feel like we're in a mirror maze right now. You ever been in one of those things down the shore where,
Yes.
like, you can't turn any direction, you bump into something?
Yes.
Like, I just gave you a situation where the Sixers trade for a mid-20s all-star level player, 2 different guys, and you say that they can't build a team around that to win a championship. So, John, what are we doing? There's no way for them to win.
Well, I'm telling you, you're going to believe that they can. I don't believe that they can. If you're asking
then
me,
you should. Then
yes,
you might as well just say that they should start over.
No, because of the fact that the road that Daryl Morey brought me down, you're talking about, you said best chance to win. Best chance to win is what Daryl Morey's put us in this situation.
John, I know he has put us in this situation. So the question is, how do you get out of this situation? Now, you say you would like to build some sort of continuity. I don't think you can do continuity with Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid says
Okay.
he would like the continuity.
Yeah, but you want younger,
I agree with you,
younger
Joel.
players. But every player that we give, you say you're not going to win with that guy. So
No,
if you don't
you're
think
not
you're
going
going
to
to
win this year.
okay.
You're not going to win immediately with them.
I
But the
don't
thing
need to
is,
win in
you may-
2024.
You may build something. Do you think the clock's ticking on Embiid or not?
I think you have 3 more great years. That's what I keep on saying. 3 more great years of Joel Embiid.
And I don't believe that Daryl Morey has your mindset. I don't
Okay.
believe he's got your mindset. I believe he's going to go out and he's going to find more 35 and 36-year-olds at the end of their careers, limping around, tired, gas tank almost on empty, saying, oh, age doesn't matter. He said it twice this offseason, and it pisses me off.
Well, no, he said
age.
he said best player
But-
available.
But he also says age. Age doesn't really, people like to bring up age. He says the one quote, people like to bring up age. Age doesn't really matter when you're talking about. I'm like, stop. My head's going to explode because it doesn't match what I'm watching. When I watch Minnesota, when I watch these other teams, I'm not seeing his vision. I don't see it.
Well, Minnesota does also have some Oh, it's not like Rudy Gobert's like some spring chicken.
I said to you yesterday the Oklahoma City thing when we were talking about Oklahoma City, and I said, do they have a guy that's other than Muscala that was above 30? And you gave me another one.
Gordon Hayward. Everybody else is young.
There are teams.
But John, what did they do? They lost in the second round of the playoffs.
And Minnesota's got a few. Do you think they have a bright future?
Yes, I do.
Would you like to have their future?
Yes, I do.
Well, then there it is.
But I can't just flip rosters. I can't also. That also means Joel Embiid can't be on the team then. Like, that's what it seems like you're getting at.
It very well might end up being. That's where it's got to be.
Well, then
get there.
No, it might be.
Get there right now.
Get it off your
there.
chest, John.
Say you can't win with Embiid.
I do not see it. No, I do not.
We're
see
gonna waterboard you.
No, I do not see Daryl Morey leading them to a championship. How about that? How about his vision?
Well, then you answer the second question. You do not have faith in Daryl Morey.
I already said that question.
All right.
Is that because I don't know why, and I do think he's a bright guy, and I do think he's a guy that has but he's not a basketball idiot.
No, of course
But I
not.
don't believe his vision works. It doesn't work.
Well, let's see how this offseason plays out. What else do we have on the text line there, Connor? And then we're going to play Bob Nightingale, who was on with Kevin Cooney last night, talking about the Phillies also as the best team in the National League. But what do we have on the text line?
All right. Here, this comes in another first-time texter here. Novel, but I'll cut it down a little bit. You don't need Maxey to make a big jump. He's been unbelievable in his progression. I don't see any reason why he won't be one of the top guards in the NBA. You need your third player to not score 0 points in a playoff game.
That's a big
you need
part of it.
Melton to not be out and injured, one of your starting guards. The coach needs to not formulate the game plan solely on Joel Embiid, which you were talking about with the Maxey Dwayne Wade thing.
Right. So, like, when I say Maxey taking a leap, I don't mean like all of a sudden averaging 40 a game, but there might be games where he might need to be the focal point. Look, let's face it. Not many teams are winning with the big man as the best player. All right? Not many teams are. Now, Joel Embiid is a different animal. Nikola Jokic is a different animal. Like, these guys are totally different. That's why they're MVP 1A, 1B, right? Like, that's why they're up there because of how good those players are.
And we all agree, I think Embiid would have won MVP this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
If he had not gotten injured.
But what Nikola Jokic has that Joel Embiid has not had has been a Jamal Murray and a Michael Porter Jr. and a Bruce Brown and players that have been able to also play around him and actually play at a high clip. Joel Embiid has never had that. One of his max contract players disappears in the playoffs every single year. We demanded a lot out of a very young Tyrese Maxey this playoff, which he did back up, right? But it just clearly wasn't enough because Joel Embiid was banged up, and I still ripped the Sixers for 2 games losing because of a lack of effort in the playoff series against the New York Knicks. I think you can win with Joel Embiid, but I also believe that maybe there's going to have to be more Tyrese Maxey games. I keep on saying it. Harden was the reason why you had a 7-game series last year, not just Joel Embiid. Harden won you 2 of those games and was great in a 3rd game. You need that guard to step up or that wing player, which the Sixers' wing players have not existed. Kelly Oubre, we talk about Kelly Oubre as if he's freaking Michael Jordan because we finally have somebody that can do something off a dribble, which Tobias Harris has never been able to do.
Correct.
All right.
I mean, look, on those things, nobody's disagreeing with that. It's the idea of I'm looking at it as I want the championship as much as you do.
Of course you do.
I'm just looking at it as Daryl Morey's put me in a position where I can't say we're down the road now. You got to go because of mismanagement. Embiid's never been built around.
Yeah. John,
So Daryl Morey's put me in the position where I can't say trade Embiid now.
We're with you, but here's the thing. You have 2 options, neither of them good. You either have to accept where we're at and find a way out of it, and it is Daryl Morey's fault. We can put it on Daryl Morey, that's fine. No one's fighting
I'll
you.
put it on.
I put it on
like
partial.
5 regimes.
I put it on, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Or you can trade Embiid, start over, build the way that you want to build the roster with young players. Those are your 2 options.
And I would lean right now that the smarter play, John the fan, wants them to try to do something with Embiid. The smarter brain in me says we're just kicking the can down the road. And it hurts. It hurts. That's where I think we're at.
All right.
I think it sucks.
All right. We'll continue this conversation. I still think it's smart to ride with Joel Embiid, the best player in the NBA. It's just, obviously, the injury thing is a pretty big part of it. Okay, Bob Nightingale joined Kevin Cooney yesterday. Talked about the Phillies being the best team in the National League. We'll play that coming for you next. Also, speaking of Kevin Cooney, great job by Kevin Cooney last night. Todd
Very
Zalecki,
busy.
Keith Pompey, and Bob Nightingale. Keith Pompey, not only did he talk about the Tyrese Haliburton trade, he gave a very bright answer about LeBron James to the Sixers. Like a bright answer.
Okay.
But it's also going to make you think a lot. All right? I will play that for you next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
It's Ranger Day for the Phillies.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Hope you're enjoying this beautiful Tuesday morning. All right, let's play this one first because I know we've been waiting for it. Again, shout out to Kevin Cooney. He had a tremendous show last night. He was joined by Bob Nightingale, Keith Pompey, Todd Zalecki. A lot of great conversation with Kevin Cooney last night. You can hear him on the station here after the best show ever at 6 o'clock. And he was joined by Bob Nightingale. And then I want to play you this Keith Pompey clip, too. But Bob Nightingale talking about the Phillies being the best team in the National League.
You know, if you asked me that 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, I was Atlanta. If I go to Philadelphia now, just the way they're pitching, if those guys are, healthy like the way they are now, particularly the way Ranger Suarez is pitching, they're built for the short series, better than anybody. Better than Atlanta, and better than the Dodgers.
I mean, we've heard that for 3 years now. They're built better for that short series, like the 5 games. How many times have we said if the Phillies and Braves play in a 7-game series, it may go a different way?
Yeah, I'm glad both of those series were 5 games.
Yeah, me too. And it's gone in favor of the Phillies. But, man, that's now another top baseball mind, right? We had Tim Kirkchin. Buster Olney has said it. Now Bob Nightingale. The Phillies are the best team in the National League. Not the National League East, the National League.
And again, Buster Olney, I thank him for being in the he thought the Phillies were winning the World Series
over the Yankees
during spring training.
Yeah, I mean,
he's believed it since the beginning.
It's amazing. So the Phillies getting a lot of love right now. They begin a 3-game series with the defending World Series champions tonight against the Texas Rangers.
And don't let anyone spew out the nonsense of now move the goalposts. Well, if they beat the Rangers in this series, it's going to be, well, the Rangers are a 500
struggling
club.
to start the season.
They're not even a good. I mean, don't let people move the goalpost on you.
Absolutely.
The Phillies are just fine. And by the way, go win this series. And I think that they should be able to do so.
They're a great baseball team, man.
Bet the under tonight.
You like the under? Oh, Ranger on the mound. Mm-hmm. Okay, I like that.
And there's a pitcher who you're going to have to face tonight.
Okay.
Who you tend to have a problem with in Sonny Gray.
That's a good point.
John Gray.
John Gray.
Oh, John Gray, excuse me.
Sonny
Gray.
Yeah.
I think it's Sonny. John Gray's what, 2? He's another one with it. There's a lot of weird ERAs this year, Connor.
Yeah,
like it's
still early.
Still early.
Yeah.
You got to remember, pitchers once a week, so this is still early for them.
Yeah. They're still, though, we're at like the 10 start mark for pitchers. I think 10. Maybe I'm too high on that.
Yeah, but you have 2 bad ones, all of a sudden,
I got you.
Back up.
But you're at the 10 start mark. I'm believing.
Okay.
I'm believing. I know what you are.
All right, so there's your Phillies love, and we'll dive deeper into this Phillies series against the Rangers that starts tonight. But I want to play you something else from Kevin Cooney last night. Keith Pompey, we played Keith Pompey talking about Tyrese Haliburton earlier. Listen to what he said about the LeBron James situation, and I think it's going to freak some people out. I'm still signing up for it, but take a listen. This isn't just, I really want him. This is a very smart answer by Keith Pompey where it makes you think.
I'm going to be honest with you. If you can get LeBron right now, if we're talking about winning now, like you look at LeBron and you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to use LeBron and I'm going to have him as a point forward. LeBron is a professional. He's a pro's pro. He's a guy who Embiid, respects, a guy who would, become a leader of the team, an organization where the culture has always been questioned, where LeBron will come in with his professionalism. I would like that because, for, 2 years, because you're thinking about this window, and you look at him, Maxey, and you have Embiid, it's kind of sort of, you're like, all right, now all you got to do is get some role players around him. But the only concern is if he doesn't come. Now, the thing is, when you have LeBron, it's one of those things where, let's say if you give him a 4-year deal, right? Well, the window is 2 seasons. The other 2 years are like, thank you for helping us win a championship, and we're going to continue to pay you, something like that.
A 4-year deal. Now, I don't think that's what it would be. I really don't. I don't.
Why would you think LeBron doesn't want it?
I don't know. I think he also likes the idea of moving around. I don't know. I don't know why LeBron James would sign a 4-year deal at 39, but that means you would sign a 4-year deal to a 39-year-old. That means you'd have him until he's 43, Johnny.
It's a Sixerish move of all time.
Yeah, but this is different. It's not. This isn't Sixerish. This is any team should go after LeBron James when he's still playing like the freak that he is right now. He's not falling off.
He's Bron.
He's LeBron James, John. Like, I see you making these faces. What faces? He's played better.
John would have been in Tampa Bay saying, don't sign Brady.
Yeah,
There you go.
absolutely, man.
Yes.
You do it for the championship, baby. You do it for the championship. I want you to hold your thoughts on that.
Right.
Because we will dive deeper into this LeBron James thing. Keith Pompey yesterday saying all the right things about, hey, he's a very talented basketball player. He brings a culture that you've not had, which is one of the things that I've talked to you about a lot of times because I do think the Sixers desperately need a culture change. But the 4-year deal for a 39-year-old is an interesting one. So hold on to your thoughts. I want to get Connor's as well. And I would love to hear from you on the phone line or the text line, 610-632-0975. Of course, you can text in 610-632-0975. Let's head to the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward. What's next? From USA Today, does a great job covering the Sixers. That's Austin Krell. Austin, what's going on, man? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me today.
Thanks for coming on, dude. So I would like to get your thoughts on that right away. We're trying not to be LeBron James radio, but obviously that's something that's still going to be talked about throughout the entire offseason. Keith Pompey last night told our Kevin Cooney that it could be maybe even a 4-year deal. Would you do that with 39-year-old LeBron James?
4-year deal would be a harder sell for me. I think, so the reporting out there from, various insiders at the national level has been that, they're eyeing the 2025 season as, his last parade. That's, sort of what it's been implied. And I think if we're viewing it as, a 2-year deal as opposed to a 4-year deal, I think it's the perfect fit for the Sixers. And the reason that I said, forget about, the point totals or the name on the back of the jersey. If we're looking at forwards and wings who do all of the little things on the basketball court that the Sixers have lacked in these playoff runs, whether it's rebounding, whether it's setting the table, whether it's just molding and bending his game at his size to fit the needs of that particular game. LeBron has been that guy for the last handful of years, and I don't think there's a better forward on the market at doing that, at being that guy, at being willing to shape-shift the way that he plays the basketball game to bring what the Sixers would need on any given night. And so I think I view it through that lens of if it's a 2-year deal, lines him up with the end of Joel's prime in theory, that would be something where I would put LeBron at the top of my list.
Austin, I've watched him the last, 4 years since the championship. It's been 7th seed, 8th seed, 7th seed, 8th seed. Do they have enough to build around? Do they have enough to be able to fill out 7, 8 guys? Because if you can't have a rotation where you're bringing in meaningful minutes from guys 6, 7, and 8, it doesn't look like you can truly compete for titles against these young teams.
So it's a great point, and I think where I land on this, what makes their situation a little bit unique is they haven't given Tyrese Maxey his rookie scale max contract yet, which is the smallest of the max contracts that you can give a player. His level of service is 0 to 6 years, and so it's the smallest max you can give. So that alone positions them uniquely to where, okay, they feel like they can build a three-headed monster out of this team, and then you go down the rest of the roster. I think the problem that you run into when you think about building out depth is a lot of the players in the NBA now that are role players, like the high-level ones, they're going to be making $18 to $20 or more million per year. So the Sixers are projected to have 50 to 60+ million in cap space this offseason. If we're talking about building around high-level role players, you run into a situation where, okay, you spend that on 3 different guys, your ceiling isn't that much higher than it already was, and you have already maxed out your salary slot. So you might as well take a big swing at a big fish and maximize your upside. Will they have enough depth to match up with these younger teams? That's going to be something that we're questioning all season long. And the fact of the matter is, the reason that a team like Oklahoma City is so deep is, granted they're out, but a team like the Knicks was deep for a while and whatnot. These teams are hitting on their draft picks and they're taking swings on guys in undrafted free agency. They're taking low level free agents and they're developing them more. And that is something that the Sixers have done a little bit more in the last, year or two. But really their vision, Daryl Morey's vision, is bring on the biggest fishes you can get and then take a flyer on these minimum deals. And sometimes they pan out. A lot of times those guys have shortcomings that come up in the worst situations.
Now, last one before we let you go. You said take a swing at the big fish. So who is the big fish that you think makes most sense for the Sixers? And who's somebody that intrigues you? Because, we've gotten a million names thrown our way. Some of them, I don't even know if the Sixers can even acquire them via trade, but there are free agents. There are players that will be available via trade. Who intrigues you the most, and who do you think makes most sense?
So, to me, I think the best thing you can do is you can try to go after a free agent instead of trading for guys, because trading for guys means you're giving up picks. It would be LeBron, as I said. It would then be Paul George, and then if I have to trade for somebody, then I'm going to trade for Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy has the playoff pedigree that Paul George has kind of been inconsistent with. I also just think that Jimmy Butler knows how to slow down a playoff game in a way that is meaningful, and he gets to the free throw line. He has the ability to create for others in a way that I think Paul George has slowly lost as he's gotten older. I think when you trade for Jimmy, you're going to have to give up multiple 2 or 3 picks, whatever it might be. Maybe there's swaps in there. So I lean towards Paul George as the second guy, just because I think that gives you a chance to keep that draft capital dry and then go pursue a high-level role player, whether that's Alex Caruso or somebody else, and really build out the rest of that team.
Austin, you're the man. We really appreciate you coming on today, and we'll be bugging you again down the road, all right?
Thanks, guys.
There he is, Austin Krell from USA Today. Does a great job covering the Sixers.
Does a really nice job. Nice young man, too. And he sent me a Villanova hat when I was going through my hats, having to cover up my head during chemo. I haven't really forgiven him for it, but he's a good man.
He's a good man. All right, coming up next, I want to get your reactions to this LeBron James thing from Keith Pompey. 4-year deal. I don't think it's going to be 4 years. I really don't.
Could be.
But, dude, I'll still say it. Sign me up. I want your reactions, Connor and John, and, of course, on the text line and the phone line, 610-632-0975. LeBron James, 4-year deal? What? It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Now is the time to become a Fanatic MVP. Go right now.
Had problems with the clock.
Oh, okay. Well,
If only there was a big clock like up in front of you somewhere.
No,
so
but
you
I
could-
just it's problems with the clock. The show's flying.
I want to thank Austin Krell, who just joined us to talk about what the Sixers could do this offseason. I will just say this, and I wish we had more time to talk to him. I'm not trading for Jimmy Butler. I'm not doing that.
When I heard Jimmy Butler, when I heard Paul George, and I glaze over. I just glaze over. But I understand what he's saying.
Yeah, I do.
He's in the know, and he's
He is in the
well
know.
done.
And look,
I just don't want it.
I love Jimmy Butler, right? And it was a tragedy that he was no longer here. Jimmy Butler, he's got 2 years left on his deal. He already wants a max contract for his next deal. What, so you're going to sign him to a max at 36?
No, you're not.
Right, like
the smart organization is not. I'm going back to what Keith Pompey said.
Okay.
And you played the soundbite, and I wrote it down because it's real. I think it's really telling. Keith Pompey, when he talked about LeBron coming here, he said it'd be great because you'd be getting in a guy here who could be the leader of the team. Is what he says first.
Leader.
He says you get a guy in here who could be the leader of the team. You get a guy in here with professionalism. And him and Maxey would be able to, and then he goes, and then with Embiid. Tells you a lot.
What does it tell you?
That the Sixers are shopping for a leader of a team.
They need. That's one of my biggest reasons why I want him, other than the fact that he could still score.
But
30.
That's sort of a major indictment on Joel Embiid that you're not the leader of this team.
I don't think it's an indictment on Joel Embiid. I think it's an indictment on the Sixers organization. I don't think the culture's great. I never have.
Whoa. If you're the best player in the organization, and you're not leading, then that's an indictment on you.
Well, we just had the conversation about Jalen Hurts not being that guy and Bryce Harper not being that guy.
Verbal.
Well,
there's no question that Bryce Harper's the leader.
Okay, but is there a question Jalen Hurts is?
Yes. After last year, there absolutely is.
Do we not have faith in him going into this year to be a really good quarterback?
I do. I have more faith that, as far as leadership, I have more faith in Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
But I mean, and he also says you got a guy in here and you bring in Joel Embiid. He goes, then you're bringing in a guy with professionalism.
Yeah.
So in other words, he's saying to you, this team needs professionalism. And you put him with Maxey. He says another thing. You put him with Maxey.
Yeah, with Maxey.
And you're like, okay.
Because he is LeBron James is your point guard.
Correct.
That's why.
And you are.
And one of my biggest wants this offseason is a point guard. Now, I know LeBron James is a point forward, but you get
Absolutely.
what I'm saying.
No question.
I think that's why he's saying that. And with Joel Embiid, who is your best player.
Yeah, but he's talking about professionalism and leadership and everything like that.
I think they need that. Dude, they brought in P.J. Tucker 2 years ago to bring an energy and an attitude.
And that is a problem with.
That could be a problem with Joel Embiid.
No, it is a problem.
And I don't. Like, I saw him grow this year. I think you agree. You saw him say things.
I saw his talents grow.
No, but also in the press. You celebrated his press conferences during the playoff
absolutely thought he was
against the Knicks.
much more reasonable as far as self-aware.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. But again.
But John, there's also. I don't want to just pin this on only Joel Embiid. Think about the guys that he has played with.
Oh, I got you.
James Harden, who during the playoffs went to Vegas because they had a few days off. Ben Simmons, according to Ramona Shelburne, faked a COVID exposure to try to get out of a playoff game. Markelle Fultz forgot how to play basketball. LeBron James comes here, and there is professionalism that comes with a LeBron James. I don't think that's like anything damning toward Embiid to hear that. I didn't pick it up that way, at least.
No, I mean,
maybe it is for you. I didn't pick it up that way.
Professionalism, we got a guy here who can be the leader of the team. The fact that somebody has to be brought in to be the leader of this team, that's bad. That's bad.
I feel like that's always happened in sports, though. How many times, they brought in that veteran because they needed that veteran presence in the locker room or something? I don't know.
Okay, and professionalism?
Yes.
That's damning.
Yeah, but what do your eyes tell you? Has Joel Embiid seemed professional? Like last year, was Joel Embiid as top of professionalism?
Last year was as top shelf professionalism as I've ever seen.
So trust yourself.
I'm just listening to Keith Pompey's own words.
I understand.
I think you're reading it too much into it.
Well, there were three things that he said. It wasn't one. It was three.
Yeah, but I said those a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
That I wanted to, I literally said those a few weeks ago that LeBron James coming here not only is a great basketball fit on the court, he's also something that you have not had off the court.
You put him with Maxey. The idea is that he's being brought here to prop up Joel Embiid's chances, right?
Yes. And I think they prop up LeBron James's chances because obviously in L.A. it's not working out. So I'm not surprised that Keith says that. I mean, look, John, Tobias Harris has been the vocal leader of this team the last couple of years.
He's spoken a lot.
Tobias Harris, I don't like. I'm sorry.
But I'm not saying about vocal leadership.
With all due respect to Tobias Harris, if he's saying something in the locker room, I'm not listening.
Yeah, but again, that's a vocal leader thing. We talked about it with Harper. Harper is the leader. Harper's not the vocal
leader. Yeah, but Tobias was the guy that set up all like the team dinner. Like it wasn't just like rah rah, let's go guys. It was like he was. And I think Keith has reported too. Tobias Harris has been the guy. Like he's been the guy that's supposed to keep the team together. And it must have been pretty hard for Tobias Harris when you've had Harden, when you've had Simmons, when you've had Fultz, all these guys that have just not panned out.
Jason Kelce and other veterans were challenging Jalen Hurts to step up and be the team leader.
Maybe LeBron needs to do that about
It's shocking. It's shocking that we're still here. That's still what we're talking about.
I didn't think that was that crazy, especially because that's kind of why I also want LeBron James. There is a professionalism, handling yourself during a regular season, being healthy come playoff time, handling yourself during a playoff series, which we've not been able to really see over the last couple of years with the Sixers.
Cutthroat.
I think there's a lot to it. All right, coming up next, we have the Key 3. Jeez, not yet.
Key 3?
We have...
Do you guys have a clock in there?
We have today's headlines with Connor Thomas coming up at 8:05. Jeff McClain joins us at 8:10 to talk some birds. It's Kincade and Salciunas right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
trip into work today. We'll be joined by Jeff McClain in about 10 minutes. He joins us at 8:10. OTAs beginning this week. I think the Eagles actually reported yesterday, but
It gets me excited, yeah.
Does it?
Yes, it does. I honestly am. I like it. I like to see. You know what I like to see?
What are you going to get out of OTAs?
Is one of the things is what you get is out of them is you get stories.
Okay, yes. All right, from a radio standpoint,
No. From a fan standpoint.
Okay.
I want to know how guys are performing against remember Jordan Mailata?
Yeah.
Remember when people
I also remember Jalen Reagor's one-handed catch.
But remember, now you see I don't go on stuff like that on a highlight thing. I'm talking about how the other veterans talking about a guy coming in and going, wow.
Okay.
How about last year, Jalen Carter?
Yeah.
The veterans going, wow.
Yeah, Baby Rhino. That's where it came out of.
Baby
Right?
Exactly.
Rhino.
These all coming out of these things. I put a lot into it. I really do.
And
I think now, not the Jalen Reagor one catch,
Right,
or
right.
somebody tweeting me that Jalen Hurts was 3 out of 8 passing attempts.
Right.
That kind of stuff. That's clickbait. Makes no interest to me. But the stories do matter.
I'm going to ask Jeff, a little spoiler, about Jordan Davis, because there was a photo of him, the Eagles Autism Bike
see
Challenges
it?
yesterday. Dude, he looked cut.
By the way, is that too is another thing with Jordan Davis is the analysis coming out of what he did last year. There were 6 guys better than him in his position.
Only 6.
6
Okay.
in the NFL.
That's pretty good.
6
And
as a run stuffer.
And again, we know the second half fall off.
No, it's happened again.
Yeah.
But overall, his entire body of work, he was the 7th best at doing what the Eagles. I think there's a lot of stuff. He doesn't look recognizable.
No, he doesn't. No, he looks great.
No, he looks great.
And I know he's been working hard. Milton Williams, they've been working out together a lot this
Yes.
offseason. And, obviously Milton Williams, I think he's only got like 1 year left on his contract. So maybe Milton Williams trying to look for that payday.
You know who's all Milton Williams up?
Who?
Our man Bill Colarulo.
Is that right?
I swear to you, I wonder sometimes whether it's the Colarulo Sirianni, whether he is, his mom may have been a Sirianni, I'm not sure, but he is Milton Williams up.
I like Milton Williams as a rotational guy.
I like him as a rotational guy.
I would never call myself Milton Williams up.
I think he's Milton Williams up. And if you haven't heard Bill on the weekends, Bill's lighting it up.
Yeah. Oh, he's tremendous.
Saturday, Sunday mornings, you hear him with Bob and everything. His passion for the project is huge.
This is, by the way, his final year of his deal, so I would not be surprised if he tries
turns
to
it
ball
on.
out this year.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he worked his rear end off this offseason. And I'm glad that it was with Jordan Davis. That's awesome. All right, so here's what we got going on before we get to today's headlines. So we've been talking a lot about the Sixers. It's been a very Sixers-heavy show today. Question number 1 that I want you guys to think about, because after we're done speaking with Jeff, I do have some Eagles stuff that I want to get into, but we'll revisit talking to you. What is the right way to build this Sixers roster? And I say this roster with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. But if one of your answers is moving on from Joel Embiid, I will not attack you. Even though I don't think that's the right thing to do, but I will not attack you. But I want you to give me a logical thing. Like, don't just tell me trade Joel Embiid, he stinks. Like, give me a logical reason why you would trade Joel Embiid. And one of those logical reasons might be what you're seeing in the NBA playoffs right now, where the final 4 teams are guard and wing driven. So if that's your reason why you don't think you can win with Joel Embiid, all right, so be it. Let me know. Let John know. Let Connor know. We would love to hear from you. And then the follow-up question is, do you have faith in the man that's orchestrating this? And that's Daryl Morey. And John has been very clearly saying no.
I am very clearly saying no. And it is not that I think he's a dope. It's not that I think he's incompetent. I don't agree with his vision of how to build a team.
Right.
I do not agree, and I guarantee you we are going to end up with an aging star. I'll say it right now. Write it down on May the 21st. We're going to end up with an aging star that we're hoping is going to stay healthy, and we are hoping can re-find some sort of energy from 5 years ago, and we will find at least 2 players that are at the end of their careers that come on to here to try to add to something.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it does sound like more and more that you're getting closer to the move on from the big
You
man.
are not incorrect with that. You're not incorrect with that, and I don't think, and you're not setting me up with that or anything. I think that I'm moving closer. Absolutely.
Because the reason why he is doing the reason why he has to do those
Right.
things that you disagree with is because you don't have much time left.
Moving closer to it? You're absolutely correct. No question. Closer. There's a big difference.
It's going to be an interesting summer. 610-632-0975 to answer those questions on the phone line or the text line. But it's 8:05. Time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What up, Connor?
Hey, boys, how we feeling?
Great.
Ears are all right? You're going to be able to hear after the fire alarm this morning?
God, that was terrible.
Ridiculous.
All right. Well, you're going to want to hear this because this is a great moment. Great job by Bryce Harper. I don't know if you saw this on social media, but yesterday, video surfaces, Bryce Harper helping out a local kid with his promposal. Could you imagine if you were a girl in like high school ready for your prom and Bryce Harper's at the door to help ask whoever's asking you to prom? No way you could say no, right? Here's a little bit of audio.
Hi, Julia. I'm going to prom. Jake wants to ask you to prom, so I thought I'd help him out. You want to go to prom with him? So will you go to prom with him? Yes! Awesome. There you go.
That's so cool. So Bryce is literally at this girl's doorstep with the kid that's asking the girl to prom.
Yes.
Like, that's so cool that Bryce Harper
What's
did
the
that.
story behind it? Do you have anything?
My guess is neighborhood. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a house.
Here's the only thing, is that the girl comes out of the house.
Hugs him first.
She hugs Bryce Harper, not the prom date.
Dude, I would hug Bryce Harper before my wife.
If she hugs you first,
my wife would hug Bryce Harper before me. I promise you that.
That girl does not have her priorities straight if she's hugging the guy first and over Bryce Harper. Like, it's Bryce Harper.
It's Bryce Harper, yeah. Now,
I'm hugging Bryce Harper first.
I think that's so freaking
Well, I
cool,
know you
Bryce
would.
Harper. And,
Love Bryce.
and we're going to dive into this deeper.
It's very charming and it's very sweet of him to do that.
And now you have fans for life. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's that hard for athletes, and we'll dive deeper into this because I don't think it's that freaking hard.
It's not.
And this is Bryce Harper. This isn't 12th man off the bench on a basketball team. This isn't 25th. This isn't Garrett Stubbs. This is Bryce Harper.
If Garrett Stubbs knocked on that door, that girl's saying, "Hell no, am I going to the prom?"
She might hug Garrett Stubbs too. He's
No, she's not going to the
He's
prom
a
with
professional
him. He's a
baseball
likable
player.
guy.
He's a likable guy, and he makes millions of dollars to play baseball. But real quick before we move on, and I'm sorry, Connor. When did the promposal thing start?
Oh, stop.
forever
It's
ago.
ridiculous.
Because
Don't even get me started.
Yeah, we definitely
had it. I'm wondering, when did it?
You had it?
Yes.
Yeah.
You had it. I didn't think
We graduated the
his group
same
had
year.
it.
We're the same
We're
age.
the same.
No, but I didn't think of it as far as is that because I would never see doing it.
I did it.
Him, I'd see doing it.
He's married. Why is he the one that wouldn't have done it?
No, I wouldn't have seen you doing it.
I had an incredible one.
Of course you did.
I had an incredible one.
What'd you do?
I put it up on the fan division at a Phillies game, but I did it a specific way. You know how they do the birthdays?
Okay.
That shows
Right,
so-and-so's turning 30.
right.
So I did the girl's first name. Her last name was Prom, and the age was question mark.
That's pretty creative.
That's a freaking
That's not
great.
bad, kid.
That's pretty creative.
Freaking
That's
great.
not bad.
You guys can all steal it.
No, that's pretty creative.
And I remember I called and I was like, "Hey, how do you put a message on the big screen?" They're like, "Oh yeah, that'll cost you like $500." I was like, so I called back. I was like, "How do you do a birthday?" They're like, "Oh, it's free."
See, there you
So
go.
I did girl's name, Prom is last name, question mark.
I didn't realize
I like
that was
it.
free. I'm going to start putting random birthdays up there. All right, we're moving on. Speaking of like making things easier on yourself, A.J. Brown made the Eagles Autism 10K challenge. He made it as easy as possible on himself.
I'm feeling real calm, real collected. You know, as you see, I brought my electric bike, so I'm working smart, not hard.
I didn't realize it wasn't electric.
Yeah, I mean, of course it's gonna fit in, you know. So I'm in great shape, but this is my off day. I'm here to support, put smiles on people's faces, not work too hard. So yeah.
Wait a minute, you can't do an
You can't do it.
electric
You
bike.
can't do it.
You can.
I
can't.
I love you, AJ Brown. You can't do that.
You can't do
Total
that. What?
violation. You
It's a
can't
violation
do. You
of
can't do a
that.
charity bike race with an electric bike.
No, you
What do
cannot.
mean? Why not?
You cannot do that.
Total violation.
Okay, you remember what happened when he was on a bike last year?
Yeah, but I don't think
He
that
almost
would have
got
been
hit by a car.
electric or non-electric.
Come on.
Well, now he can zip out of the way faster.
Dude, I
And
love AJ Brown.
AJ, we love you, but please, you can't
this,
do
this
that.
is not the show that tried trading him.
No.
Right,
making
exactly.
ridiculous trades.
If he's tired in week 18, it's because you guys make him ride
We
the
didn't
bike.
do the clickbait of
No,
AJ
that is
Brown.
a total violation, though.
That is a violation.
I am
No,
not
it's not.
afraid to say
Yes, it is.
violation to go electric bike on a charity bike ride.
On a charity bike race where, by the
Nah.
way, people pay for how many miles you can bike.
Right.
It's absolutely
Yeah,
a
run up
violation.
that money, baby.
It's a violation.
It's a total violation.
Unless I'm sure
This
AJ.
guy's a
by
supreme
the way,
professional athlete.
I'm sure AJ was just very charitable, stroked a nice check himself.
yes, I'm sure he
I'm
did.
sure he wasn't
No,
going
he's got
door
the
to door going, Mrs. Smith, would you sponsor me for $5
Yeah,
a mile?
I'm sure he didn't do that. All right, that's today's headlines with Connor Thomas. Yeah, total violation.
That's a violation.
No, it's not. Let the guy have fun.
Yes, it is. All right, we'll be joined by Jeff McClain momentarily. Let's go to Jamal in North Philly. Jamal, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, how you guys doing?
What's up,
Good to
Jamal?
hear from you, Jamal.
Not much. First, I just wanted to say, Joel Embiid is not a leader. It's not a bad thing to say about him. Just everybody's not a leader. He's a very good basketball player. When it comes to who I would like to have on the team, like Morey said, a great player who can perform at a high level in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that he's learning from his mistakes, meaning he just had James Harden. He wasn't, that type of player. So I think he's learning, as he go.
Yeah,
Meaning,
and then some things weren't his mistakes. Like Tobias Harris, he didn't sign Tobias Harris, right?
We're not talking about a guy who, though, is 20. This sounds like something you'd say about a guy who's 3 or 4 years into the league, not 10.
Well, no, I totally agree with that, but I said he learning from his mistakes. I didn't say when he was learning.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, so I feel like he know how to get the low-level talent. When I mean low-level, I mean low price, like he found like Kelly Oubre. So I believe he'll be able to fill out the roster. But I do need him, and we all need him to get the right player. Jimmy Butler, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, somebody who can give you 15 to 20 points in the playoffs. That's all we were missing.
Yeah, you absolutely need it. And you came closer with that with Kelly Oubre. And thanks for the call, Jamal. I just don't want to rely on Kelly Oubre. That's all.
You'd like him to be a piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
Correct.
All right, let's head
Not
to
a
the
big
Comcast
piece.
Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward. What's next from the Inquirer, Inquirer.com. Jeff McClain joins us. Jeff, happy OTAs week. I know you're thrilled.
Yeah, sure. We get our first full glimpse of the team on tomorrow.
And what are you going to be paying attention to first when you first get there? Like, obviously, you're always looking for stories. What's that first thing that you're going to be looking for when you get to OTAs tomorrow?
Typically, I guess the new guys, maybe some of the free agents that they've signed, guys that they traded for, of course, the rookies. We saw them at rookie camp, but that's, we only got really a brief glimpse of it. So it'd be nice to see how some of the top draft picks look against, NFL caliber talent. And then usually I kind of like get an idea of where some of the guys are unsure about positional, versatility. Those guys, where they're going to end up, and I guess Cooper DeJean is one of them. I mean, we've heard that they'll start him off a cornerback, but it'd be interesting if they give him also some safety reps. Depth chart, obviously, as Chip Kelly once said to us around this time, the depth chart is more of a seeding chart, so I don't think a lot should be taken from where guys are situated in terms of first, second, and third team. But you can get an idea on some of the positions and where guys are being situated. I mean, who's going to be the starting right guard? It'll be interesting to see who gets the most reps there. Cornerback, is James Bradbury, going to be the top guy again? So there's a lot of questions, I think, I'm heading into this first practice.
Jeff, is this a lot of implementation? Is this a lot of what we're going to see, what Vic Fangio and what Kellen Moore are going to be installing? Or is this more about familiarity, getting to know an evaluation for those guys to see what these players can do?
No, certainly. I mean, they're going to be installing the new offense and defense. I don't think they'll be getting very extravagant. It'll be a lot of the base plays, that a lot of teams run. So I don't think it's going to look a lot different than it has previously. There may be a few things here and there. They obviously don't want to reveal much specifically when the media is there, and obviously we're all writing our practice observations off these sessions. But no, I mean this time, the reason why Nick has kind of increased the number that he's going to have a mini camp, for instance, is that you have two new coordinators, you have two essentially new schemes, new terminology. You need this time to kind of get players used to running those plays, learning the terminology, all that stuff that goes into it, and they'll be obviously implementing that now.
I know it's very early to tell, but there's been a lot of turnover, as there is every single year in the NFL. But some of the big key players for the Eagles are on their way out. You got some guys, it seems like Brandon Graham finishing his career potentially this season. Who is a player that you're expecting to take that next big leap forward where I can say, all right, that's a guy that's going to be a big part of the core moving forward for the Eagles?
In terms of like leadership, or a guy that can be here for an extended period of time?
Like I would say overall play as well.
Well, I think Jordan Mailata has kind of and you got a new contract extension this offseason, so that's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, he'll be here for a while, at least for the next 4 or 5 years, I assume, at left tackle, and also as a leader. Jordan is a guy that stand-up individual. He can speak for the team. He can speak for the offensive line. He can speak with certain players. Certainly for himself. I think Jordan is a guy that I would keep an eye on as being a little more of a vocal leader this year.
The pictures of when you look at this team and you picture the lineup and you picture the depth chart, you've had a chance to digest now free agency, the draft, and how things are looking. Is there anything you potentially think you may be like, okay, this is the area where I got to pay attention the most. This is the area where I think it could potentially be what pushes them up or potentially drags them down?
Well, look, they have a lot of strength on the offensive side of the ball, both as skill positions. The offensive line, right guard, is the one really question mark there. So a lot of it just goes to the defensive side for me. And, I think there's still a lot of unknowns. Is Bryce Huff the type of guy that's going to come in and, compensate for what they lost with Hassan Reddick? I mean, he had one good year. Can he do it again? Can he be a guy that takes another step up? And I think that's what the Eagles are projecting here because he's young. They think he's an ascending player. Linebacker, off-ball linebacker. Do we really know who? Devin White. Nakobe Dean's coming off the injury. They went and drafted Jeremiah Trotter. They have a few other guys that they brought in here. What's that going to look like? And the safety spot looks like it's C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I think that Reed Blankenship's going to probably start out as the guy in the post there. But you have Sidney Brown coming off an injury, and then of course Stuber DeJean. You throw him into the mix there. I think he's going to be like the guy that you see in the slot, and call occasionally maybe even safety. I know he's starting at a cornerback, but I just think that it's Mitchell's job to lose. I think with that other outside cornerback spot. I think there's a lot of question marks on the defensive side of the ball, and considering how last year went, and especially how it ended, can Vic Fangio figure it out and put the pieces together and get that defense playing the way it needs to offset what is really honestly going to be should be again a good offense.
Speaking of Jeff McClain from the Inquirer.com and the Comcast Business Hotline, I know you'll get a better idea of this week when you see them, but I saw another photo. I remember having this exact same conversation last year of Jordan Davis. The dude looks ripped, so I'll ask you, Jeff, have you heard anything about Jordan Davis and what he has done this offseason to try to get past what we've seen the last 2 years, maybe a second-half fall-off? Because the guy, again, I'm basing it off of a photo, but he looked good.
Yeah, I saw it too as well and heard, that he was definitely trying to get in better shape. I think he did a little last year and then kind of like tailed off by the end of last season. I think the same could be said for Jalen Carter. It was good for the Eagles that Vic Fangio was saying that he felt like Carter had the fitness that he needed at this point. That was almost, directly addressing the fact that he kind of tailed off as well. So I think it applies to both of those guys. Certainly Jordan Davis because he's bigger. You don't want to lose. You don't want to lose some of that heft, but I think that's always going to be there. But he's going to be playing, the nose, in that base run, run stopping front. But I think for him to kind of justify the first round pick and moving up for him, he's got to do more in the pass rush. And to do that, he's probably got to get a little more nimble. And that's why I think you've seen him lose some of the weight. It'll be interesting to see what he says he weighs when we talk to him on Wednesday or over here in the next few weeks.
Being around them every day, do you get a good sense of how the head coach works with the coordinators, or is that something that really you're just assuming from what goes on behind the scenes and you hear about?
Yeah, I mean, let's be perfectly clear. I'm not around them every day. I mean, they've totally cut back on spring access. So we'll get
10 minutes. Was it 15 minutes here, half hour here?
Right. I mean, we'll get 2 full OTA practices that we get to watch, and then they'll go select players afterwards, and then we get the 3 mini camp practices, and we'll talk to Nick and select players during those days. So basically everything you're gathering is for us from those 5 practices before they break for the summer and then come back for training camp. So it'll be very hard, I think, to gather much from that.
Well, Jeff, you enjoy OTAs. We'll talk to you again next week. We'll get the report from OTAs, some of the stories, who's looking good, who should we get high expectations for, who looks great in their shorts, right? Because that's pretty much what OTAs is nowadays.
Yeah, we'll keep it in context. I will at least will. I don't know about other people.
I know you will, and that's why we love having you on. We
Thanks,
appreciate
Jeff.
it as always, man. We'll talk to you next week.
Guys, talk to you soon.
There he is, Jeff McClain from the Inquirer.com. He keeps it plain and simple, and
Jeff,
I love that about him.
Jeff gives me the
He's a journalist.
Jeff gives me the coverage that I'm looking for.
Yes, absolutely. All right, coming up next, you heard it during today's headlines with Connor and Thomas. Bryce Harper helped a kid do the promposal. I can't promposal. Oh, my God. But I think that's really freaking cool. And I want to get into a conversation about connection with athletes and how it shouldn't be that hard. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
We'll reset everything that we've been talking about coming up in a little bit. And Connor Thomas told us that somebody sent in a lineup proposal that would make us throw up. And I'm guessing not in a good way.
No. You throw up in a good way?
That doesn't sound good.
No, I don't do that.
It's normally bad.
No, it is
Throwing
normally
up
bad.
isn't good.
So we'll give you that coming up, but not that I feel like I don't even want to hear it. If you're telling me it's that bad, I feel like I don't want to hear it. But
you specifically want to hear it.
Okay, I can't wait for it. But real quick, before we get to all of that, I want to focus on this Bryce Harper thing. So if you're just tuning in, we did it during today's headlines, which we do every single day at 8:05. It's our chance to talk about some of the other stuff that's going on in the world of sports because we're so Eagles focused some days, Sixers focused some days, Phillies focused some days, that Connor gives us some of the stories that are fun to talk about. And yesterday, Bryce Harper helped a high school kid ask a girl out to prom. And kind of late, by the way. Isn't it like prom season like now?
Yeah, I would say that.
I couldn't tell you when prom is.
My neighbors across the street, Clearview's prom was this past weekend.
Yeah, you guys are burbs, guys. I live in a building. I haven't seen a teenager in 17 years.
That's true.
Yeah, you really don't.
That's a good point. But anyways, Bryce Harper goes to the girl's doorstep, knocks on the door. The girl opens the door, sees Bryce Harper. She's in awe. And he just goes, Jake, I think the kid's name was Jake. Jake here wants for you to go to prom with him. Are you in? And she was like, yeah, of course. And I thought that was really cool. And I have never heard a bad story of Bryce Harper here in Philly interacting with people. We've seen him down the shore. Remember when he was injured? He was just eating at a diner outside, like just a normal person.
Bill's.
Uncle Bill's, that's right.
He went down to Uncle Bill's.
Love Uncle Bill's.
Oh, I can't wait. Can't wait to hit
Big
Uncle Bill's this summer.
I remember seeing a photo of him at a Home Depot, just like talking with people, just like he's shopping.
We have people that we know associated with the show. Everybody that I know within the Phillies organization tells me dealing with Bryce has been joyous.
That's amazing.
That he's very tight with his time, but when he agrees to do something, he does it. He doesn't. He is a true professional.
But I think also like the more important stuff for me is like he wasn't paid for that. That wasn't some franchise orchestrated thing. That was probably one of Bryce's neighbors because it looked like it was in a neighborhood if you check out the video.
It does.
And he took the few minutes to do that, right? Why can't more athletes do that? Like I feel like there is a notion nowadays that it's harder for athletes, and I get that it is because of social media. Like, how many times have you heard Charles Barkley tell stories? Man, if social media was around when I was playing,
and Barkley would have been out of the league,
probably. Yeah. So I understand it is harder because everybody's got a camera phone, everybody's got a million things. But if you're looking to do a good deed, like you can. You can, like Bryce Harper. There's one thing if a guy's throwing, the Morgan Wallen dudes. I know he's not a professional athlete. He's throwing chairs off of the third floor of a building. But if you're walking around like trying to do a good deed, somebody's going to capture a video of it, and that's going to A, make you look like a great person, and B, you're going to make a fan or fans for life. Why can't more athletes do that?
Well, you hear this, and it's one of the things with people will go, oh, that's something that Shaq has done really well.
Yes,
He's
absolutely.
done really, really well with that. He'll go to a Home Depot or he'll go to a shoe store or he'll go to something and do that. It's not hard to be kind.
No.
It's not hard to be kind. And when you're as blessed as guys like Shaq, Bryce Harper, whatever they are, it's really not hard.
And I think of like Ben Simmons, the opposite, right? Ben Simmons.
No, completely the opposite.
Ben Simmons, I don't know how factual the story was. But Ben Simmons was at a candy store in L.A. like 2 years ago.
Yes.
And basically had his security, according to people on the scene.
Keep people out
until he got his candy. Like, candy. It's not like he was at getting a Rolex. No, he was getting licorice. And like the kid, oh, God, I'm sorry, kiddo. I'm sorry, mom of 5. You guys got to wait.
Yeah,
I got to get my candy first.
He had his boys waiting at the door. Like let him, don't go in and swarm. Like Bryce, like he's going to be swarmed.
Like, that's weird.
I've said it to you before. Shaq shops at Walmart.
And that's awesome.
And goes by himself to go and shop.
And he's kind of hard to miss, Shaq.
Damn it, Andrew.
Bryce Harper, you know, I mean,
I was just
seriously,
going to say, well, he's hard to recognize, so it's not the same thing.
Ben Simmons would stand out at
6'10".
He rolls into my supermarket. He's going to be seen immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are going to understand it. Is that it's just not hard to be kind.
Like, I love when the athlete gives the pair of sneakers to the kid after a game.
I think that's wonderful.
You get a free pair of sneakers every night, right? Right? Like these guys get sneakers every single night from the trainer. It's so simple. The guy that throws the wristband into the crowd, it's so simple. And you make a fan for life doing that. But there's so many guys that won't do it. And now this is just Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper's walking around the neighborhood going, yeah, I'll help you ask the girl out to prom.
Sure.
Why don't more athletes do that?
I think there's a lot to do, and we just don't see it. Like, I really don't think it gets this level of reaction unless it's a big-time guy like Bryce Harper. Like, I don't know.
I don't know if that's true. I see, like, stories every once in a while where it's, like, the guy coming off the bench does something nice for somebody, and it's celebrated.
Yeah, but
I don't think it has to be Bryce Harper.
I'll tell you what. I think it happens more than you think.
Okay.
Like, I'd say largely athletes do use their fame and platform and everything to give back to people pretty well.
But and look, I'm not going to say that just cutting a check is a bad thing, because cutting a check is more than what I can do, right? Because these guys make
absolutely.
Like Bryce Harper is a $330 million contract, so him cutting a check is more than me Venmoing $5 to somebody for a cup of coffee, right? But like stories like this where the guy, he took his own time,
right?
Like that,
it's a great thing.
That I think is not done enough. And yeah, I don't see why it's not. You're a human being. I know it's a lot different life, but like look, we're talking about it today because of it.
No, it is a thing, and then you're going to get the people that will go, oh yeah, well Bryce got it on, made sure it made it to social media.
I know, and I don't get that.
No, Bryce didn't. I guarantee you that Bryce Harper is not the person getting this out on social media.
No, probably not.
It's the boy, it's the girl, it's their friends,
yeah,
whatever it is. Is that I don't know anybody who has ever, for Bryce Harper to have, he's done things perfectly here in Philadelphia.
I just think connection with athletes is a pretty cool thing. Look, Jalen Hurts is great with that kind of stuff. He really is. Jalen Hurts is great. So we had a caller. I had a caller calling the middays like 2 or 3 years ago. He was playing flag football somewhere, and Hurts like rolled up.
Really?
And came out. Yeah. And
what do you mean? Like came out and like tossed the ball around?
Yeah, like he saw them, and I think he stepped on the field. Like remember Joel Embiid used to play basketball in South Philly. I know we all freaked out because we didn't want him to get hurt.
A little different if Jalen Hurts is playing catch as opposed to Embiid putting one off a guy's face and then windmill dunking on him.
Yeah, but that's awesome. That guy's got a story for life.
Hey, Barkley plays with those kids in that commercial.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit more set up.
He posts up on those little kids.
But like I think that kind of stuff is awesome, and I don't see why more athletes don't do it. That's my biggest thing. I don't see why.
You're absolutely right. It's not a difficult thing to do, so it should be done more. But I do also think it happens more often than you think, and we just don't hear about it.
Okay, fair.
Oh, yeah, I think that's fair.
Fair. I think it's fair. I wish more of it happened that we heard of that.
There can always be more, and you're absolutely right.
And I can tell you that there are organizations that, like there are teams that don't do a good job of doing this. Sports teams.
Yeah,
that
I agree with you.
There's ones that do a great job at it, and we've said it before, and he's our buddy, John Brazier. The Phillies do a great job of trying to, like, do little special things.
Absolutely.
And make the fan experience something special.
Yeah.
And so, I mean,
that's why he has a title called Director of Fun and Games and has had it for 32 years.
But I would say it, and I love the teams in this city, and I love the 3 venues. But there's something special about every time I've attended Citizens Bank Park, whether it's the ushers.
Oh yeah.
There's something about the way they go about their business.
Our caller Dave from Ben Salem. One of the nicest people I've ever met.
Well, I see,
and he's a great usher at the Phillies game.
And I see him over at other places too, which is great too. I run into him over at the Wells Fargo.
That's awesome.
I just am I'm very impressed when we're blown away by things like this, because we shouldn't We should see more of it.
We should see more
But
of
we're
it.
blown away when we see it.
Absolutely. All right. I wanted to talk
it's
about
good.
that because it's also a way to celebrate what Bryce Harper did even more because I think that's
That's
pretty
a lot
cool.
of fun.
All right, so here's what we've talked about today. And coming up next, I want more of your reaction. I know we have texts that we have not gotten to yet, so I'm going to have Connor roll through some of these texts coming your way next. You can text into the show at 610-632-0975. What is the right way for this team to be built, the Sixers roster? And do you have faith in Daryl Morey to do it? Those are your two questions. Now, Connor said somebody did text in what they believe is the right way to build the roster, but you believe that we will feel sick from the lineup. So we'll get, like I said, we're going to get to more text next.
yeah,
It's not great.
Well, no, but
so we'll get to that text next. Connor's words specifically were, I have a lineup that somebody sent in that will make you throw up. So we're going to get to that.
Yeah, a lineup that'll make us throw up.
Okay.
I don't want to throw up, though.
I don't either, but
brings back bad memories.
Apparently that's going to happen. So we'll get into that coming your way next. I have an Eagles conversation that we're going to get into in the 9 o'clock hour. And it's one of these conversations about holding people to a higher standard like I will be doing with Jalen Hurts this year. I want to think about some other players.
And Embiid, by the way.
And Embiid. We'll get to that.
We're
not doing that. That's not the Sixers conversation today, Johnny. All right? I have a couple Eagles questions that I'll run by you at 9 o'clock. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Now, Around the Bases with Andrew Salciunas on 97.5, The Fanatic.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. So I asked for more reaction on our topics of the day today, which are what is the right way to build this Sixers roster? And question 2 is whether or not you had the faith in Daryl Morey to do it. I also want to replay this LeBron James clip from Keith Pompey coming up later on in the 9 o'clock hour as well. LeBron James. But Connor Thomas told us that somebody did text in. So I have a couple other texts ready. But you said that somebody texted in a way to build this roster, and they sent in, again, your words, a lineup that would make us throw up.
Yeah, I have forwarded this number to local authorities.
Okay.
To have someone look into this because this is dirty work.
So, again,
it's dirty.
I said I would not get angry unless it's, like, ridiculous.
Oh, you won't get angry at this.
Okay.
I will.
You might. They might have put a Chunas caveat in here.
All right.
So this is a first time.
Go slowly for me.
This is a first time texter.
All right.
So,
name?
No name.
All right.
Appreciate
Howard.
them checking in. Trade Embiid to Memphis
God.
for Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson. Sign Batum, Oubre, Malik Monk, and Jonas Valanciunas.
That might be the worst team I've ever heard in my life.
Here's the lineup. Maxey at the point, Bane shooting guard, Oubre small forward, Jackson power forward, Valanciunas at the center.
Wow, it's going to be
someone's punky.
It's going to be really fun watching them as the 10th seed. Maybe.
Yeah, that play-in game's going to be
listen,
exciting.
I need you to add your name so I can specifically
incredible.
point out how horrible of a basketball mindset that is.
Do you think that they potentially thought we were asking for the worst possible roster build?
No, I think that they were trying to appeal to Salciunas based on just, heritage.
Yeah, so he threw the Valanciunas in just so that I could maybe say, I'd think about it.
Yeah.
No, even though my boy's involved, absolutely.
You could throw in a Salciunas to be named later, and that team sucks.
What are we doing here? Like, all right, I understand that there might be some fatigue with Joel Embiid.
You understand that there may be some fatigue,
but
you're soft pedaling that.
Hold on a second, John. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a nice basketball player, and Desmond Bane could hit a shot.
Right.
If you're trading Joel Embiid, you're getting multiple players, multiple picks. You're not getting two role players. Like,
I don't think you're
I
getting.
don't want to say Jaren Jackson's just a role player, but like, he's not Joel Embiid.
I don't think you're getting as much as you think.
I think you get a good haul on Joel Embiid.
Give me
you do
How
now.
about this? Get a couple of teams that you believe would trade for Joel Embiid or would have interest in grabbing him.
A couple of teams?
Give me a couple teams, and then, no, you don't have to do it now. You can think about it. You have the commercial breaks and things like that. And then tell me what you think you would get in return. I don't think it's as big a return. I don't think it's this big as haul as you think.
I think you get a huge haul.
You get young talent, or you just get picks?
You'll probably get talent. You'll probably get picks.
Well, I know you're going to get picks, but I mean, the young talent that you're getting, I want to hear teams that you think would do it and what you think you'd get in return. Because I think that also adds to the conversation.
I will tell you right away, Eastern Conference, New York would be interested.
Okay. And what would they offer you?
Well, I don't know.
No,
I'm not a GM, but it'd be picks and probably some
but you're
players.
saying about a haul, but what kind of haul?
Let's just say Randall DiVincenzo, 3 firsts.
Yeah, like they have to give a lot of picks. Like
would you consider Randall DiVincenzo?
No, I'm not trading Joel Embiid.
Okay.
I'm not doing it. But I would say the Knicks would be interested.
I think they'd be very interested.
I don't see why a Cavaliers team wouldn't be interested. I don't know if Joel Embiid would go to Cleveland, but Cleveland would be a team.
What would they give you?
It's the same thing. Picks. It's picks. It's picks.
It's picks. You're not getting a haul though. You're not getting as far as.
What are you considering a haul? Like,
no, but I mean a haul.
All right, Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson.
You said multiple players. Like, who are the multiple players that these teams would
I would have to look at these rosters, but if
well, think about the Harden trade.
Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson for Joel Embiid, if it's just a 1-for-2, that is the most disrespectful trade I've ever heard in my life.
You got a bunch of spare parts for Harden, didn't you?
Well, but you got like 4 guys.
You got
but you got spare parts.
And you had a big pick swap. A big
pick swap. The pick swap is big.
And Harden is older than Joel Embiid. Harden is less good than Joel Embiid right now. Like
that's very good analysis.
Well, I'm just saying, and that's what you got for Harden.
I'm saying right away, Eastern Conference.
Okay, Knicks,
Cavs, I would say Miami.
And again, Miami. What would you get in
Look,
return?
if you're the Chicago Bulls, why wouldn't you? You're trying to be relevant. That's why they still believe they can win something with that stupid big three that they have. That's just in the Eastern Conference.
No, but I'm saying to you is what would you – but the idea is, again, we know picks. What would you get in return as far as talent that can actually play the game this year?
If you're moving him, you're not playing the game this year.
Yeah, you're not.
So
you're starting
over. So in other words, if you're not getting anybody in return, that's a real difference.
You're going to get some guys like Anthony Davis went to the Lakers. You got Brandon Ingram, right? Young player. Jury was still out on Brandon
Some people
Ingram.
like Brandon Ingram.
He's turned into a decent NBA player.
So like Miami might give you Tyler Hero.
Right.
Like guys like that. They're not going to get you any closer.
But you're not getting Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in his prime.
Exactly.
No. Right? You're getting young guys that you hope can turn into something, which is why I'm not doing it, because if you're doing it, you're starting all over. Like, you have to start over. If you trade Joel Embiid, you're starting over. Like that, I'm sorry, that might be the dumbest trade proposal I've ever.
I think they were punking you.
I don't think so.
I don't know, dude.
I do.
Because to your point, there is Embiid fatigue, but enough Embiid fatigue for you to set your franchise back
Not
a
with
decade?
Not with a deal like that.
That
no.
sets your franchise back forever.
Well,
until you do another process.
How much further back can you get? 23 years without sniffing. No, but I mean, how much far back can you get? Not getting to the Final Four of your sport?
I know, John, in terms of years, but I'm saying having Joel Embiid on your team, you're still in the conversation. The second you get rid of Joel Embiid and I have Desmond Bane.
I think people are tiring of the conversation. I really do.
Well, at least you have a conversation.
Yeah, I got you.
That's all I'll say.
And
at least we have a conversation.
And all these other teams are doing it and finding ways to get to the conference finals that we can't with these players that create great conversation.
Well, at least I have a conversation. That's all I can be thankful for.
I'd rather have an Eastern Conference final.
Yes, me too. And
Indiana. The Atlanta Hawks twice in a decade.
They can maybe get there one day. All right, coming up next, an Eagles topic that I want to run by you. And I want you to think about this during the break. Expectations that almost sound unfair, but it's actually fair. I'll explain more coming up next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phillies are ready.
By the way, we have not talked about the huge news from yesterday.
What's that?
That the Eagles had another Frank Gore situation, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Not as bad.
It's more Miles Jack.
Miles Jack, thank you.
Yeah.
That's right. Devontae Parker retired. Remember they acquired him?
Can I say that I'm happy? I don't. I'm happy for him. Look, he's got money in the bank. He's
got money in the bank. He
and
literally
he's doing
said he wants to
good
hang
for
out
him.
with his kids and
good
his
for him.
family. That's
I'm
awesome.
I'm happy for him. I was not looking forward to him. Someone trying to convince me that he was an answer.
That he was the missing piece from last season. Yeah, no. Congratulations on your career, Devontae Parker. The money that you made, spend time with your family. He literally said, "quote I want to see my kids, spend quality time with them.
I love
want to
that
be there
answer.
for them whenever I can." That's awesome. I
love that answer for him.
We actually have a Twitter poll up. What's his next career, fireman or plumber?
I wasn't looking forward to watching. I did not think that was a player that I thought would contribute. I wondered whether he'd make the team.
I didn't think he was going to make the team.
When I saw
he wasn't getting paid. The Patriots were still paying his contract.
When I saw them draft 2 wide receivers, the antenna went up, and I was like, yeah, I think he saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, and I think that's a guy that you're like, well, we don't really have to pay for him. He's been around for a while. We're going to bring in young guys. Yeah, right. Just have a camp.
Have him to camp. Yeah, and he ends up retiring, and good for him. So there's that.
Good for him. Enjoy yourself.
All right, so we'll get back to the Sixers conversation at some point this segment, but I have a question about your Philadelphia Eagles that I want to get to. So last week I told you that I'm going to be holding Jalen Hurts to a higher standard this season, which, again, I find crazy that I have to say that about the franchise quarterback in the city of Philadelphia, but I'm not going to be like, oh, it's okay that he fumbled, 4 times in the first 4 weeks because, the preseason. It's an extension of the preseason. Another new coordinator. You gave us the numbers last week, or was it? Yes, no, it was last week of Kellen Moore against the blitz and how.
No, I mean, Kellen Moore against the blitz, his first year with quarterbacks, they do great.
Both Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert.
So I don't want to hear anything about
no excuses.
New offensive coordinator. Oh, all of a sudden, he helps get to 6th last year.
Yeah,
with Justin Herbert.
No excuses for Jalen Hurts this year, but I want to know, and I don't think that's unfair. For me to hold the franchise quarterback to a higher standard that has A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, Kellen Moore. I don't think I'm asking too much or going too far in having high expectations for Jalen Hurts and holding him to a higher standard.
You aren't.
So who is a player that you have almost unfair expectations for this season, but then you remember, that shouldn't be unfair? And my first answer is Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis was a first-round draft pick. Jordan Davis has these incredible numbers that you have given me.
Yes.
And you said what?
ESPN, he was 7th in run, blocking win percentage.
Right.
Last year. He has been a guy that has also, from the same report, has faced the most double teams in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
He's been double teamed the most. Yet you hear people say, oh, man, Jordan Davis is a problem. No, in fact, he's been top 7 at his position, and he's been a guy who has also been a guy who later in the season has sagged a bit.
And that's the thing that I'm going to say, hey, that can't happen this year.
No, it can't.
Especially now that Fletcher Cox is gone. You can't rely on Fletcher Cox to pick up a lot of the issues that maybe were led by Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter hitting the rookie wall at some point last season. I need more out of Jordan Davis this year, and I don't think that's unfair for me to say. And it's not just me basing it off of a picture, right, where he looks ripped. No, it's based off of, all right, you're entering year 3 as a first-round draft pick. And, oh, by the way, the guy that they did not select became an all-pro last season, and I'm still bothered by it. You're still bothered by it. This is not revisionist history. This is who we both wanted. You and I don't agree on a lot of things. You and I both wanted Kyle Hamilton with that first-round draft pick. They went with Jordan Davis. I didn't hate the pick. I was just upset that it wasn't the guy that I wanted. And he hasn't been a disappointment, but he hasn't been as good as the guy that was drafted right behind him.
I would just say is that, again, when you're top 7 at your position in a 32-team league, you're really pretty good.
You are
and
pretty good.
Even with the SAG.
But does he scream top 7 to you?
No, I do think that.
Okay.
Because going into, again, in the month of November, again, 2 years in a row, they were number 1 against the run.
And then it fell apart.
And he was the number 1 reason that they did it. But fell apart to what? Again, as far as that, his performance only fell down to being 6 guys better than him.
Yeah, but he doesn't feel like that player.
It doesn't feel like that's what I'm saying. Does it feel like that?
I will tell you this is that I'm being flippant and trying to be funny with you guys. I don't give a damn about your feelings. I give a thing about facts. I want to talk facts. I don't want to talk your
But has
feelings.
Jordan Davis seemed like a game wrecker to you?
Yeah. As far as the stuff in the run, he absolutely has.
All right, how did that work with James Conner last year running for 700 yards?
He is a guy who is, again, he is creating, like last year, Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter faced more than twice the double teams that Aaron Donald did as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
More than twice.
Yeah.
And Jalen Carter was a freaking beast. And then it's like, look, when you're a young guy and you start, and you
but I saw him as a
the difference
freaking
is
beast.
Jalen Carter looks like it.
Right,
Jordan Davis doesn't look
wait a minute.
like it.
Does being I don't understand something. You're the number one run stuffer on your team. You are number one on the run going into the week against the run, going into the week of Thanksgiving.
Okay.
2 years in a row.
And then what happened?
I understand, but it sags off to what, 7th?
Okay, well, John,
it sags.
I don't want it to
7th.
sag off, and that's one of my things.
I agree with you.
And you can say I don't think it's unfair for me to say, all right, going into year 3,
unfair.
I can't do rookie wall, I can't do
Right.
second year wall. You're going into year 3, so now my expectations for you. Some may think that is unfair. I don't think it's unfair for me to expect more out of my 3rd year first round draft.
It is not. But are you when you drafted a guy? If you said to him, 2 years into his career, he's going to actually be, because he was even better his first year. So you're going to have a guy who averages out to 6th as a run stuffer.
right, but it's not about the numbers. He's got to make impact.
What is it about?
He's got to make impact plays in big moments.
Right.
When you draft somebody there, you can compile all those numbers.
Are you talking
want,
about
times that
Are you
don't
talking
matter.
about you want him to get sacks?
No, but there are times where you see Jalen Carter take 2 guys, fight them off, bring a running back down and slam them, and you're like, wow,
he's a
that's
beast.
a monster play. When was the last time you saw Jordan Davis make a monster play that's like memorable?
Early in the season again.
Right. And they can be hollow numbers, and he can still rate well, but what do your eyes tell you?
Okay, so then what are the other guys, the 3/4 of the league that finishes behind him in these hollow numbers? What are they?
Listen,
This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I understand. You are right. Andrew, you are completely right to say the bar of expectation should be that December drop-off can't happen.
Right.
That is fine, and I'm all in on it. But to make it seem like it's just a disaster is ridiculous.
No, I'm not saying that. I think he's good.
He's saying hollow numbers. He has hollow numbers.
I think he's good. I think the numbers that make him a top 7 guy are empty at points, and I don't think one statistic is going to convince me he's great, even if it does for you.
So the hollow numbers then 3/4 of the league is behind him in these hollow numbers.
What do you mean?
He's better than 3/4 of the guys in the league who are primary run stuffers for their team.
I would then be curious.
Behind him. 2 years into his career.
I would be curious to see where he ranks on passing downs, passing plays. I don't expect Jordan Davis is not a guy that's going to get you 10 sacks.
He's not going to be. He is never going to be. No. I said they should expect. I would say 4 a year.
Okay.
I think would be a solid expectation.
And that has
to
fair.
be higher.
Yep,
it has to be higher. I'm all for raising the bar on him.
Yeah.
But I think the discussion point on him is borderline ridiculous.
I don't think anyone's calling him a bust. I've
heard it.
You have.
I've heard it.
But you have yelled at me about
and I've heard
reading.
it. No, I've heard it on this station.
Okay.
And I've heard people sort of put it out there that he's been a bit of a bust. No, he hasn't.
He hasn't been a bust.
He has not been a bit of a bust.
But he falls victim to the guy that was drafted behind him.
Well, believe me, and that's the guy that I wanted too.
I know.
So it feels crazy for me to have to be the defender on this, but I think that I don't believe, Connor, and it's my true belief that the majority of fans can watch games and go, I know who is a dominant run stuffer and who isn't. I know who's being double teamed and who isn't. That's why you have to go to these stats and go to the video where the people are watching this and say, okay, who's getting double teamed the most?
Maybe some people can't. I believe I can. And I believe watching Jordan Davis and watching every Eagles game, he has not been a top-level impact player the way I expect a first-round pick to be able to be. And I think he's a good pick. I don't think he's a bust. I think these higher expectations
and
are
you've
fine.
never said bust. You've never said anything.
No, I like Jordan Davis more than the average Eagles fan. But I don't think that one number is convincing me that he's great.
Do you think that he is – it just tells you what it is that his productivity. That's a productivity stat.
It is.
What does he do? The thing is he doesn't make enough of the highlight plays that you want to see.
But it's not just highlight plays.
But
it's also the other. Look, it's a pass-happy league, right? It's a league where, yes, it's great that he's a run stuffer on 20 plays out of the game. What about the other 40 to 50 offensive plays where guys are dropping back to pass? How much of an impact player is he there? When he is getting those double teams on passing downs, is Fletcher Cox getting free? Is Jalen Carter getting free?
Absolutely.
Are they getting free consistently enough where him swallowing up those double teams is doing enough for his other players to get there? We complained about the edge rushers last year not getting home last season. Was Jordan Davis enough of an impact to allow Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat to get home?
Well, what it tells you is when his double team rate is that high, it tells you that somebody should have been benefiting from it.
And that's fair.
That's him being double teamed means he's doing his job, because that means the opposition is saying, oh, who do we need? Let's watch the Eagles defense. We're watching all week. We go, okay, Jordan Davis is the guy we need to stop. But Jalen Carter's a guy we need to stop. That's all I'm saying to it is that I think you're not, but I don't consider any of your expectations unrealistic or unfair in a year 3 player.
All right, so I'm going to go to Doug here, but I want you to both give me an answer. Okay, a player where it may almost sound unfair to have higher expectations for, but come on, they're all adults, damn it. Let's raise the bar. This is a potential Super Bowl team. We've flirted with the idea of winning the NFC. Even after what happened last year, we as a show have flirted with that idea. We just haven't really dove into the Super Bowl conversation just yet. It's time to have higher expectations for some players. Let's go to Doug in Coopersburg, and then I'll get your answers. Doug, you're on the Fanatic.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Doug.
Hey, I'm just calling to basically talk to John directly. I agree with Chunis. Jordan Davis has to be at the top of the list of guys that you're expecting more from. And John is citing basically half of what Jordan Davis was drafted for, run stuffing. Great. He moved up in the first round for a run stuffing nose tackle. Fantastic. He went 10 games to finish his season last year, did not record a QB hit in 10 straight games to finish the season. And to me, if you're moving up in the first round to get a guy like that, that is subpar. That is not even average. That is below average. And that's my take on the Jordan Davis.
Well, Doug, let me ask you something. Coming out in that draft, what did you see something in Jordan Davis that you thought he was going to be that kind of guy? Because I got to tell you, watching every snap of his college career, he is a guy I said the same thing. It's just why I didn't want to draft him, is that he's a run stuffer, and I didn't think he was the guy that you sort of want him to be.
And if that was your evaluation, which was also my evaluation, to be honest with you, you don't move up for a guy like a run-stuffing nose tackle in the first round, and that's why his expectations are so high.
Then, Doug, we can sit and we can have a beer right now, and we can clank glasses and say we agree. I agree with you. I wanted Kyle Hamilton. I screamed from the top of the mountain. Kyle Hamilton was there.
Thanks for the call,
He
Doug.
would have been a transformational player at that pick. Now, would I have taken Jordan Davis at 25? Absolutely.
At 25?
Yeah. Like something like back end. I would have traded, if I was going to take Jordan Davis and I wasn't taking Kyle Hamilton, I would have traded back to get him.
Okay.
But I wouldn't have traded, but I definitely would have used a first-round pick on him. So I'm not using revisionist history here. I would have said, hey, in the 23, 25, 27, I would have been all over taking Jordan Davis.
All right. Give me the player that it almost sounds unfair, because it's 2024, so I got to talk about feelings and fairness and unfairness.
Got to be fair. Jordan Mailata.
Okay. Explain.
Jordan Mailata the last 2 years has not been the player that...
You're not wrong.
No, I'm not wrong. Jordan Mailata, and I think Jordan Mailata has gotten a media free pass.
I've also told you my theory.
What's that?
That I
he's
thought...
a seventh rounder?
No.
Oh, okay.
My theory of the Eagles' offensive line and Jalen Hurts being a perfect marriage. I think Jalen Hurts is part of the reason why the numbers look so good for the offensive line, because of his mobility and his ability to escape. And I also think vice versa. I think the offensive line is still very talented.
He's one of the most sacked quarterbacks, though.
I know.
I mean, it's still... Jordan Mailata did not have I think he had an average year. And I believe that the last 2 years has been what I thought he was ascending towards. I have not seen it. I don't think he is a dominant left tackle. I think he's a good left tackle.
Good left tackle, yeah.
He is maybe I overvalued what he should be. Maybe it's unfair.
Well, because there's the meteoric rise where he went from literally not playing the NFL About playing football.
To being Jason Peters' heir apparent.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And the thing is, there has been a huge drop-off from Jason Peters to Jordan Mailata.
Well, that Jason Peters Hall of Fame.
No, I understand. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's been a huge drop-off. I expected it to be less of a drop-off.
Well,
now,
he's 27, so
okay, I got you.
And they did sign him to the extension, so
And
they clearly believe in him.
I would have signed him to an extension also. So I'm not. Again, this is what where it almost where it almost seems unfair.
I got
that was
you.
the parameter.
Right. No, it's a great answer.
I think he is a good left tackle. I wanted to see a very good to great left tackle.
And we had Jeff McClain on. I asked him who's going to be that next person that takes that leap forward, not just on the field, but off the field. And he says Jordan Mailata.
And he thinks he is. And
we saw it a lot last year with the media.
And I trust Jeff having a good pulse on that to be able to get it.
But I think that's a great answer, John. Wow. I just said that's a great answer.
Tunis?
First time in history.
Well, I appreciate that. What about you, Connor?
Oh, I agree.
Is that
what's
your
name?
answer?
Oh, I know my name, but I just want to give John some love.
Oh,
So
yeah,
thank you
that's
to
good.
Judas, but no thank you to
Congratulations,
Connor.
Johnny.
No, I said that.
In this trophy society, we'll get John a trophy that says "Great point."
We'll
Yeah,
give him one of those little star certificates.
We'll do a promposal.
I don't think that fits there.
Go on.
Anyway.
No relation to that at all.
Okay, I'm going to go with, and I know he wasn't here last year, Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
Because he was a really, really good running back in New York with nothing.
Yes.
No quarterback, no line, no coach, no culture. And now it might seem unfair to expect him to be like this elite level running back or be another level above where he's been because he's been really good. But, dude, with all this stuff at their disposal, all these other weapons, there's no reason why Saquon Barkley shouldn't be a top 5 running back in football this year.
No, he should be tremendous this season.
Like,
Now,
he
what-
has to
I
be.
saw, what was his over-under for touchdowns? Wasn't it just like 5.5? Or like
I don't
6.5?
know.
Something low. And I wonder how much of that is because of the tush push.
I think he's only gone double digits twice in
Yeah, but
his
it's
career.
low. It's like 6.5.
Well, I'm just saying he has down years. But I think that's the Giants thing.
I think that's loading 8 in the box because even Daniel Jones doesn't throw the ball well. He also runs the football more. So Saquon Barkley should be better. I think Saquon Barkley makes Jalen Hurts' life a hell of a lot easier. And I think this offense makes Saquon Barkley's life easier, which to your point is an amazing thing for a guy that's already extremely talented.
Yeah, and there's a chance he's your best offensive skill player.
Could be.
Right? Like, we all love A.J. Brown and see him as that guy, but Saquon Barkley's unbelievable, and we can't have there's so many weapons, Saquon kind of lost in the shuffle. He's got to be elite.
I like that.
I like that.
I like that, too.
I think those are
I like all
3
your
fair
guys'
answers. And if you have any, you can text in 610-632-0975. Let's go to the phones. Go to our man Stan in Drexel Hill. Stan, what's going on, brother?
Yo, what's going on, Tunis?
How have you
What's up,
been?
man?
Listen,
What's up, buddy?
I seen the conversation. You know, I had to try to jump in.
You're the man.
Give my man Tunis a little backup, man. I completely agree. I'm riding till the wheels fall off with Joel Embiid. I'm crazy, whatever you want to call it. I just think guys like that, regardless of what's going on, they don't grow on trees, man. And to me, I'd rather see it through and pray to God that one year we just get lucky.
And
You know,
I know that's a lot of praying, and I know
It is a lot
the
of praying.
chances of it
It is.
happening aren't great, but
Well, you know, for me, the way I break it down, man, honestly, it's all about how things can change with just one win, right? One championship can just change the narrative about everything, right? You look at a guy like Nick Foles and how he has cemented himself in this city with it doesn't matter what happened after. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wouldn't have mattered because he delivered the one thing that this city has been starving for, right? So for Embiid, it reminds me of with like Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk struggled to reach that point, right? He even had a 2-0 lead in the finals against Dwayne Wade and lost. And for the longest time, it was, he's a playoff choker. He can't get it done. And then to finally beat Miami with LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, now he's cemented, and all he has is one, right? All he has is one. So to me, you just got to get lucky one time, you know, and you obviously you would want it to happen sooner rather than later. Don't know when that would be or if it would happen at all. But I just think he's too good of a player for me not to try to push the chips in as much as I possibly can. And then as far as, real quick, this is my last point. I know we've been talking about guys coming in, coming out, whatever. I'm more on the path of signing guys because I think you can use your draft capital as other assets to trade for quality players because of the value of the picks. So I've been listen, in the ideal world, Mike Bridges would be back here, and you can go ahead and try to run with that team.
But that would be ideal.
If it takes signing Paul George, but then using those assets to trade for Caruso and some of these other type of quality role players, elite role players as I like to call them, then I think that would give you your best shot. And I'll tell you, I go into next season feeling pretty good.
And that's all you can ask for, Stan, and we appreciate the call, is a shot.
He's a great caller. I will tell you one thing. Do a word search. I don't know if you've ever used word search tools on the Paul George articles out of the team that covered him this year, the LA Press. The words that come up most often, inconsistent.
I could probably say that about a lot of NBA players.
Hampered. Injured.
I could say that about the best player on the Sixers.
Inconsistent, hampered, injured. Come up over and over and over again in the analysis at the end of the year when they talk about it.
I hear you.
That's just a word search tool just saying, what are they writing about?
And look, you know how I feel about the situation.
You do. I know. Neither one of us are in on it.
All right, so coming up next, more of your reaction to the topics on hand. And also, Phillies-Rangers series begins tonight. Mr. Locked On Phillies podcast, Connor Thomas, will give us a bit of a preview. He said that there is a stat that will blow our mind about this series. So we'll get that coming your way next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
6:30 on Kincade and Salciunas here on this Tuesday morning. Make sure you're listening today at 10 o'clock for the midday show with Bob Cooney. Amy Fadul in with Bob today, of course, produced all by Ray Dunn. And Bob will be joining us around 9:50 for our crossover, as we do every single day, following the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3. So that's still what you have coming up. Connor, let me know if we have any texts that I've not gotten to yet, and then I want you to preview Phillies-Rangers, 3-game series tonight in Citizens Bank Park against the team that you should have faced in the World Series had you not choked away a 2-1 and a 3-2 series lead, and then losing 3-3 the Game 7 at Citizens Bank Park. That's the most painful part, is that you were up 3-2 with 2 games at home, the greatest environment in playoff baseball, and you just lost. But anyways, before we get to that series preview that should have been a series in October, what do we have on the text line about the topics that we've had on hand today?
Yeah, we have a billion texts on how to build this roster, and
Okay.
I don't think any of them have been 100% the same. So there's just
there's that's the beauty of this offseason. For all right, for my sanity as a Sixers fan, it's not that great. But for radio, there's a million answers.
There are.
So what do we got?
All right.
Come on, dude.
If you're going to trade Embiid, you better trade Maxey, because Maxey will not be as good as he is without Joe along his side, just so you know that.
That's
Tyrese is
absurd.
good because of Joel. That's Frank from Philly.
Hold on. I have said that a Tyrese Maxey-led basketball team, I think, is a bottom seed play-in team.
I would agree with you.
I do.
I would think you're in the play-in tournament. You're not a contender.
So I don't think that's crazy to say, but I wouldn't completely blow it up.
Embiid makes Maxey though?
I think they're a great one.
complement each other.
There are
I think they
duos.
complement
Every
each
team
other.
that is successful
Yes.
has a duo.
That's why I reject that premise completely. Tyrese Maxey is not made by Joel Embiid. He's accentuated. And by the way, he helps Joel too.
Yes, absolutely. I think I said this a couple weeks ago, and I'll say it again.
All right.
The people that I think feel the need to pick a side, don't do that. You can get one player on this team. Let's just say Paul George. Forget the injuries for a second. Just the basketball player that Paul George is. Paul George is a great fit with Tyrese Maxey if Joel Embiid's not on this team. Paul George is a great fit with Joel Embiid if Tyrese Maxey is not on this team. My point being is a wing that can catch and shoot is a good fit with a center and is a good fit with a point guard.
That is correct.
The beauty of this team is you have Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid.
And more importantly, you think of young players in the game, both you guys. There's not another young player out there that you could either get in free agency or that you could start to build around with Tyrese Maxey that wouldn't raise them out of the play-in tournament, because I think there could be. That would raise them out of the play-in tournament.
Right, but how do you get that player?
Yeah, if you're trading Joel Embiid.
Well, if you're telling me I'm getting a boatload of picks, if I traded Embiid, and I'm getting a boatload of picks, and I've got all this salary cap space to be able to do it in free agency, I would think you.
But here's the problem: the team that's trading for Joel Embiid, because he's 30 years old, they're not. It's not a. Let me see. It's not the Trailblazers.
So yeah, you're not trading for a team that's going to be drafted in the lottery over and over.
It's a team that's probably built to win and needs that one more piece, and it's a pretty big piece. So they're not going to trade you one of their top 2 players.
Aren't those the draft picks though that Oklahoma City has just piled up in the shed, like back end of the first rounders?
Yeah, they have a
and
bunch.
second. I mean, they have a ton of them that they accumulated over the years that weren't necessarily getting people's lottery picks, but getting picks in the teens, getting picks in the early 20s.
Yeah, but here's what you don't see: they got 1 billion of them. It's not like you just get 2 of those.
Yeah, they're
and
not
hope they
they're
work
not
out.
batting 1,000.
No, they're not. I'm just saying, as far as being able to then package and go get somebody you want. Teams like
Yes,
number one picks.
you could do that. Yes. All right. What else do we have on the text line?
Yeah, we also have someone checking in here. This is very interesting. Brian and Sewell. So someone from your neck of the woods.
Hello,
there,
Brian.
Andy.
Neighbor.
This is an interesting question. If Embiid was on literally any other team in the NBA, and there was a possibility of the Sixers getting him, would we be excited? We would be jumping out of our seats excited, is what Brian says. So this talk of getting rid of him is ridiculously stupid. Got to live and die with him.
I completely agree, but we would be having the same conversation we are about Paul George, but the injury history.
Yeah, everybody would be saying, "Is the guy ever healthy?" That's what if you were having not fanboy conversation, we're having responsible conversation.
No,
if we were trying to acquire Embiid, there'd be a lot of excitement about it. But then there'd be logic, there'd be major concerns.
Try and take yourself out of watching him this closely, though.
Look, I'll say this. If I'm a New York Knicks fan and I've been ripping Joel Embiid for being a dirty player in the playoffs and he's always hurt, blah, 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 I guarantee you every Knicks fan wants Joel Embiid.
Yeah, there's a case to be made. He should be a 3-time-in-a-row MVP.
Right.
I think there is a lot of people around NBA circles as fan bases that don't have a lot of regard for him. Though they know the talent's there, and they know that he can do amazing things, but they don't have a lot of that.
Yeah.
I believe they do. I believe the casual fans in other cities do look at him and say, that guy's soft.
Yeah, because they're stupid.
No, I'm telling you that. Absolutely.
But you're saying fans. I don't know if the GMs are
I don't think GMs would
right,
think
and
that,
those
no.
are the people that are the ones that are making the decisions.
Yeah.
I don't think the market would be as robust as some might think.
I think it would be robust.
I believe
he's literally a three,
robust.
like you said, Connor.
Right.
He could win. He could have won MVP three.
But what they'd have
years.
to give up to dismantle it. Do you do that?
They would have to give up a lot of picks.
Oh,
It would be a haul.
Yes.
All right, Connor. We got Phillies Rangers beginning tonight. What is this stat that you're going to give us for this series?
Do you guys know the last time the Phillies beat the Rangers?
Oh, I did see this. I won't say it.
John?
Well, they don't play that often.
I'll give you a hint. It wasn't last year. They were swept
well, I know
in the
that.
opening
I know
series.
that. And they were swept the year before.
They were in two separate two-game series.
Okay. I don't know. 10 years ago.
2014.
2014. Yeah,
Since they beat
10
them.
years
Not
ago.
in a series, John. In
Just
one
won
game.
a game.
In a game.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
I think that's one of those.
insane.
I think that's one of those odds. How many games is that? Do you have any idea?
I don't know.
But
Like,
still,
that's pretty
even if
wild.
it's 10,
That's
to
a
go
wild stat.
0-10. Now, a lot of it has to do with the Phillies were trash those years.
Right.
But like last year, they
remember
getting
too,
swept to start the season sucked.
We didn't play this clown schedule that they now play.
Right.
For a long
hate
time. You played it every 3 years. You played the Rangers, I think.
You don't like the schedule?
No, I hate
No,
it.
I love it.
No,
I hate it.
So I like that you play more teams, but this is very old man yells at clouds.
Yes, it is.
I hate when they start off a season against an American League team.
Oh, get over it.
No,
And
because there was something like I love how you hear the commercials in between innings, and it's come to Citizens Bank Park for interleague play. And it's like, all right, I get it. It is still technically interleague play
But it's not anymore.
But it's not. It used to be the interleague schedule, right? It used to be right around the All-Star break. The Red Sox would be in town.
No, they do it
the
from
Yankees
June,
would be in town
June through July.
Right, and now
it was
it's
great.
the Phillies are opening the series in
With the
Texas
A's.
against the Rangers or against the A's. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
the A's.
I don't like that. That is old man yelling at clouds. I will admit it.
Yeah,
Right.
you guys are both being way too picky here.
Mine isn't that though. Mine is the just. I don't have to see them play every team every year.
I like it because
love
it gives you a chance to see players. Like it
I
gives
agree with you.
Like I love that the Tigers were here last year. Even though the Tigers sucked, I went to the game to see Miguel Cabrera. Like I wanted to see
It's
Miguel
great
Cabrera.
to see other players.
Even though he hit a ground ball and went down the first baseline in 9 seconds because he didn't run. But I got to see Miguel Cabrera one more time.
Here's what I would suggest. Then this should be. Then change the scheduling, change the leagues up, change it. It doesn't mean as much when you're doing this very bland, even schedule that everybody's playing the same.
Well,
schedule.
I know it's been talked about one day maybe going to a conference seating
I
the
would
way
think it'd be-
the NBA does it.
No, they talked about it 2 years ago in a competition committee thing in baseball.
Yeah, whereas
divisions are they've made it more and more meaningless.
Well, they're not meaningless because they still matter in terms of making the playoff.
Right, but they've also screwed up.
Like NBA divisions are meaningless.
But they've screwed up the playoffs because of it. Because here, you had the Phillies as the top wild card, ended up facing the Braves 2 years in.
Right.
They're coming out of there.
They should add an eighth team. It should be
right. Everybody
one through 8.
plays.
Stop. Don't ask them to change the playoff structure because it works for the Phillies.
Fine. Until it stops working,
No,
change
what I'm
it. How
saying
about
to you
that?
is, what I'm saying to you is you have a playoff format where you're going to me, it just makes more sense where the best team plays the worst team, best team plays the worst team.
Yeah, make it like the NBA. That's pretty. Or
No,
the
NBA
NFL.
doesn't
Sorry,
do that.
the NFL where it's reseeded. I got you.
The NFL team that is better than you always has the advantage.
Yep.
Also, Philly should win this series.
You do feel that way.
That's it.
They should. They should keep on rolling.
The Rangers are dead. They're the walking wounded. They have like 1 billion guys on the injured list.
I don't think it's a sweep, but if
Just
you take
win
2
2
and
out of
3,
3, I'm fine.
just keep on winning series, baby. All right, coming up next, we got the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3, the 3 best minutes from today's show, followed by my 3 favorite minutes, no offense, boys, with Bob Cooney. Bob Cooney comes in for the crossover. So
Your
we'll talk
favorite
to
3 minutes.
Yep. You know why? It's the last 3 minutes, dude.
Oh, you made a point.
It's time to go home. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Bob Cooney.
A lot of listeners have brought this up to us.
Salciunas. What was that, Johnny?
I wanted to give you a number really quick.
Yeah, what do we got?
41 seasons since the Sixers have been in the giving you a parade.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me.
I'm just saying it's because it's where we started the show today.
Okay.
And 2 times they've been to the conference finals in those 41 seasons.
Yes,
2 times.
Thank you.
One time to the finals.
Yes,
okay?
It's been 23 years.
Now, just a note, Flyers just passed 49 years in comparison.
Okay.
They've been to the conference finals 13 times. They've been to the finals 7 times.
Okay.
Wow, they choke, don't they?
No, they. It just is amazing how even the Flyers who are constantly derided have still had opportunity. This has got to change. This is a big offseason for the Sixers.
Yes, it does.
It's huge. It's got to change. That's an embarrassment.
Yeah.
How bad that is.
Yeah, it is.
It has to change big time.
Man, your shooting percentage?
No, I didn't. Well, I shot underhand.
It's very low.
I shot underhand. It was
John
terrible.
misses more trash can shots than I've ever seen in my life.
I didn't yell Kobe.
It's time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Our question today, and this is something where I know you and I are going to differ, but hopefully we can find a middle ground at some point. What is the right way for the Sixers to build the roster going into next season? And I'm talking about this Sixers team. Now, there's so many different avenues you can go in. You can say, blow it up. Like, if somebody thinks that it's time to trade Joel Embiid and start fresh, bring that to the table. Today is a day where I'm not going to yell and scream and say, you're crazy, you're stupid, how dare you think this? I can't do that anymore. Now, I will tell you, and I talked about this a lot, I'm going to the end with Joel Embiid, right? Like, I'm not trading him. I'm not blowing it up. I'm not starting over. I am going to go until Joel Embiid can no longer move on a basketball court. I'm riding with Joel Embiid because he's so talented, and 1 year you hope that it finally clicks, where he stays healthy.
Like, I don't trust that Joel Embiid season's ever coming.
Okay. I thought you meant
right there.
Daryl Morey stuff.
And I am not trashing Joel Embiid when I say it.
Right.
I am just saying to you, I understand people with your mindset completely, that you've got a guy here who has been he's an amazing talent.
He's the best player in the league at times.
But I do not trust at all that your vision of one of these years, it's all going to come together. You're hoping it all comes together.
I can't say it's a vision. Like, I'm not guaranteeing anything.
I don't believe it's ever going to happen.
From the Inquirer.com, Jeff McClain joins us.
Yeah, you can get an idea on some of the positions and where guys are being situated. I mean, who's going to be the starting right guard? Who gets the most reps there? Cornerback, is James Bradbury, going to be the top guy again? So there's a lot of questions I think I'm heading into this first practice.
Yeah. Raise the bar. This is a potential Super Bowl team. We've flirted with the idea of winning the NFC. Even after what happened last year, we as a show have flirted with that idea. We just haven't really dove into the Super Bowl conversation just yet. It's time to have higher expectations for some players. From USA Today, does a great job covering the Sixers. That's Austin Krell.
I think the best thing you can do is you can try to go after a free agent instead of trading for guys, because trading for guys means you're giving up picks. It would be LeBron, as I said. It would then be Paul George. And then if I have to trade for somebody, then I'm going to trade for Jimmy Butler.
Question number 2. Do you have faith in Daryl Morey? Look, he knows the deal. Daryl Morey does. There's no more trading for James Harden's, right? He's got the blank canvas. He's got Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey. He's got 4 guys.
And Ricky Council and Paul Reed are 2 of them.
Right. So he's got 2 guys.
He has 2 guys. Thank you very much.
He's got 2 guys. He's got Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and then he has to build this roster. The Daryl Morey's a genius conversation, we'll find it out. Like, this will be the offseason.
Who's still saying that? Who in the world is still saying that? And more importantly, what are you basing it on? What is it based on? The person who says that, what has he done? That anybody would even utter those words or believe that. And by the way, I know it. I navigate these people. I've met them.
Yeah.
They do. There are people out there saying, I'm like, what are you? Point to something tangible.
He has made some good trades. He has made some not so good trades.
What has it done?
Nothing.
What fruit has it borne?
Nothing.
Then you're not.
Bryce Harper helped a high school kid ask a girl out to prom. Bryce Harper goes to the girl's doorstep, knocks on the door. The girl opens the door, sees Bryce Harper. She's in awe. And he just goes, yeah, Jake, I think the kid's name was Jake. Jake here wants for you to go to prom with him, are you in? And she was like, yeah, of course. And I thought that was really cool. And I have never heard a bad story of Bryce Harper here in Philly.
You get on the horse every year and you talk yourself into thinking, yep, it's going to be different. Or this has a real chance to be different. Like, I thought they beat the Knicks. They
should have beaten the New York Knicks.
But the one thing I know about the Sixers, when they should win, they don't.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again, they don't.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it does sound like more and more that you're getting closer to the move on from the big.
You are not incorrect with that. You're not incorrect with that, and you're not setting me up with that or anything. I think that I'm moving closer. Absolutely.
All right, it's the key three. And now it's time for our crossover. Bob Cooney.
Your favorite minutes.
Bob Cooney, how did you ask whoever you went to prom with to prom?
They asked me, Andrew.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have Bryce Harper or like Julius Erving in my back pocket.
Right, you didn't have that?
No.
You actually asked the girl to prom.
I guess.
I'm
I
trying
don't
to
really
figure out
remember.
when did the promposal start?
I know when. I told
God,
you.
like with my kids, I think.
But we did it. Me and Connor did it. We're a little older than your kids. I don't
you're
know
not.
when it started.
How old are you? 30?
30.
Yeah, I got a 28-year-old.
Yeah, it's 2 years old.
Okay.
But I didn't.
Yeah, I guess they did.
It's not like we
Yeah.
started
He
it.
did. Yeah, they did though. That's the first I remember it. Yeah.
It was happening before Connor and I. I don't know when.
I don't know how much further before you.
Like, what did it? What was it like back then? No, but like seriously,
when men actually talked to girls they were interested in,
well,
and didn't like have to text or didn't have to do a prompt proposal.
I asked the girl. What do you mean when men?
That's what I'm saying. You just but you didn't have to. You just went and you
How
asked.
is this a generation?
You didn't have to do anything. You just went up and you asked.
Yeah, you just make it cooler by asking.
Yeah,
in a fun way.
I would say that my way of asking was much cooler than yours, John.
I don't know about that.
I think it was, Andrew. Yeah. What'd you do? Did you?
I did it on the Philly screen.
That is a great creative idea.
That's good.
I put the girls. So I did. It was the birthdays. I did her first name, the last name was prom, and the age was question mark.
Ah, look at you.
That's cool.
That's not bad.
To get it for free.
Yeah, my daughter got promposaled in a really cool way by her boyfriend, but I forget what it was.
But that's the weird thing. The boy, like if they're already dating.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Yeah,
like,
I went with a friend to my senior prom.
Yeah.
And then I was dating a girl that I went the year after I was out of high school. I went to her proms.
How many other did you go to girls you were not dating? You had to
Probably
have gone to a
couple.
few. Yeah, I mean, did you do that too?
Are you Bobby Prom?
I think I was dating a girl, but I still went with a friend to a prom.
Yeah, I mean, like you went.
Yeah, my junior year, I was not dating someone. I just went with someone.
But did you go with? Did other girls from like the neighborhood or ever you go to a prom with them or anything? Because they didn't have a date or you get asked to?
People didn't want to hang out with me. I went to prom.
Guess who was at my tables at my proms my junior and senior year? That's right, Rock and Glenn. And everybody that I'm still best friends with. And Rock, the girl that he's at the prom with, is his wife, who has 5 kids.
She's Mrs. Rock is smart.
Exactly.
All right,
So we got Amy Fadul with us today. Taryn Hatcher's going to join us at 12 o'clock, talk a little Phillies, behind-the-scenes stuff, a lot about that culture thing.
Okay.
So, a lot to get into. I heard you guys talking Sixers, so we'll hit on some of that also. So, good day today.
All right, Bob.
Inching closer to the long weekend.
Damn right. We'll be listening.
Here we go.
Bob's favorite time of year comes Thursday. Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, David Auto Group, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it today. 975thefanatic.com/AACR, because cancer research saves lives.
We'll be joined by Adam Schefter tomorrow at 8 o'clock, as it will be a Wednesday hump day on